Good afternoon and good evening and welcome back to COD Challengers. I truly mean it when I say it is unbelievably good to see you guys back. We've got one more week worth of group stage action before Challengers Elite comes to a bit of an end and we start to look towards postseason. And of course, as normal, we start everything off with Europe. I'm I Hold Shift. With me, I've got my partner in crime. I was excited to see what shirt you're going to wear today. This is a good one. I like this red one.
Hey,
it's Austin Visions. Neil, brother, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good, Alan. You know, we got week number 2 coming up here. This is where, you know, a lot of that chaos kind of takes place here for us because some of these bottom teams need to win, and these top teams, I mean, there's a lot of these new players that we have coming into stage 4 that we have not really seen kind of pop off, have this performance. So I am really ecstatic to see what ends up happening coming in towards this week number 2 here for us.
It's an exciting stage. After Toronto,
Sure
I think
is.
the European region, largely speaking, was sitting there saying, oh, wait a second, what happened? Because there's no European representation in the top 8 at Toronto. But we've seen a lot of switch-ups for a couple of the rosters, and that has provided a lot of success for teams like the Awobabobs. 4-0 at the top of the standings. Team War and AYM just behind them with Rocker, Ultra, Katana, Invincibles, and Dizzy's Rascals following it up. Who are your kind of eyes on at the moment here, Austin?
I mean, you have to look at the Awobabobs, right? Like, these guys have just been able to really kind of take everyone by storm. 4-0, only dropping 4 maps here throughout that first week. And I think you just look at a lot of these guys, and you don't really expect them to be like that #1 seed here in Europe. But they have certainly been able to prove themselves. They have come out in that last cup, finished in a really good placing. So I'm really looking forward to see if they can continue to keep up the consistency now that teams have kind of been able to watch over their film and their VOD a little bit.
I like that call. It's definitely, you know, again, we'll have a lot of time to talk about them as we'll see them on schedule here in just a moment as far as what exactly we're going to be kind of focused on here for the mainstream. Team War and Awobabobs will be our opening matchup. And then Ultra Academy EU, hey, they're coming off of a Cup 12 win, kind of finally finding their form back to what we had used to know from them. They'll be playing up against the Invincibles to finish off EU Round Robin Day 3. And then, of course, we'll be back after an abbreviated break as we'll be digging into North America. Of course, more on that later. But I think this is a really interesting matchup here, mostly largely due to the fact that, you know, Team War, coming off of what was a lot of expectations going into Toronto, didn't really meet them. All of a sudden, you see them when they play in Cup number 12, they only finish top 6. And on the opposite side, you've got what I would say is probably the most slept-on player in all of Challengers this year in Brezzy, who has carried this Awobabobs team to the top and forefront of Europe.
Yeah, I think you have to talk about Brezzy when you look at this roster because Brezzy had that incredible opening at the beginning of the year with General, Havoc, Kismet, the majority of that team all getting a chance to kind of go up to the professional league in the CDL. And now we'll see exactly what they're going to be able to do kind of coming in here with Chaxter, Cobra, Abusa, all around Brezzy. And I mean, someone like Chaxter as well, I think a lot of people forget about that, you know, champs last year in Europe. Like, Chaxter was a part of that finals team that made the second place finish and had a lot of great showings, stepped up big in that final tournament. So we'll see if they can maybe continue to keep this going overall. But you see it, Alan, 4-0, 12-4 overall in the map record. They have been fantastic.
Fantastic everywhere. It really has been great average win differentials on each of the modes. So yeah, it's been surprising to see them kind of come to the forefront so quickly. But when you see the statistics and you didn't know the full history, you say, oh, it makes sense. This team's currently at first. But on the opposite side for Team War, let's be honest, you know, this organization always carries a lot of reputability just due to the fact that they're usually finding great teams in either region. A couple of the moments where we saw them represented in North America at the beginning of this year, but now back over to Europe with a lot of players that have historically been kind of carrying the Team War banner. They're still doing very well, not to be kind of getting it twisted, but there are some concerns, I would say, about what their hardpoint has looked like so far this year, as they have only put together a 2-5 overall win rate on the mode, and they're carrying a -40 point differential, which is one of the worst in Europe right now, which is surprising considering that they're 3-1.
Yeah, it's also surprising because you go back to stage 3 and that was their best game mode when you look at it overall compared to everything else. So you have to wonder, you know, what does this change really look like with Wee Man kind of leaving the roster, Harry coming in? Are they going to be able to more or less kind of find some of the consistency, you know, within that mode? Because overall, they have been great in search. They have been really strong when it comes to control. It's just a matter of trying to figure out hardpoint, and maybe with a little bit more time, they'll be able to do that.
Well, let's dig into those hardpoint statistics a little bit more, because it's been interesting over in Europe. Largely speaking, there have been teams that have found themselves in a really good position, but they're losing hardpoints by very close margin. In fact, that'll be kind of the storyline we get in the second matchup. But looking at who's been doing well, it's on a lot of the teams that have been doing very, very well. And, you know, we talked a lot about what Brezi's been able to put together for Wobabobs, but don't forget about Cobra. He is one of the most historical players throughout the French region, and he's looking really solid. 72% non-traded kill percentage. That is incredibly good.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall he's got like a 99% Slayer rating, which is just absolutely ridiculous, right? When you kind of dive into that. So we'll see exactly how it comes together, but my goodness, it has been an incredible week number 1. Now we get to see what week 2 has to offer. Remember, this is the last week before we get into playoffs here, Alan, so every win counts.
Here we go. And of course, we've got the father-son cat observing duo here, Paradox and Prosper, giving us the ones and the twos. There was a point in time where I was kind of labeling out the COD observers, where it was like Paradox was like the Aristotle, and then you had Prosper, who was there kind of as like his student, and then we had Mr. J Pistachio when he was still doing observing underneath that. It was a good post. I had to go dig that one back up. But we jump on into Bacage, a map that Wobabobs has looked really good on, and for Team War, it's largely just been trying to figure out a way to close this map off. And well, I'll say, at least to start, Wobabobs in a really good position, as they've gotten every single second worth of time here on 1.
Yeah, on 1 as well, which is not something we see at least too often, but maybe a chance now to be able to try to fly through, see if you can maybe slip out those spawns into the back, but you still have to try to slay out here, and so far, slaying has been all the Wobabobs here. 4-0 for Brezi, Cobra 4-1, trying to see if he can keep this maybe going for himself, and how about the little turn? Snaps there for 2, and is then going to back up and try to reinforce the back spawns.
Yeah, looking really solid for it, but the trades continue to come through, so a bit of a 50-50. Finally, the gunfights come out, and that will be Team War in a position to lock off the back and try to get some significant time here on 2. Nice little zone forward for Maple as well. That'll put a little bit of pressure on Wobabobs as far as how do they want to set up this hit. And then the secondary AR of Harry behind it keeps him still at arm's reach. Biggest thing about this is Chalkster has hit a route as Abuza finds 2 from the front, and that actually opens up the chance for Wobabobs to get in and start negating some of this time through 2.
Yeah, scary position right now here for a lot of Team War. They're kind of just battling out of their spawn, and they need to win gunfights before they can even look at this hill. Koba's going to wisely kind of play his life, search for some information, while Wardy hits him out. Nice little teamwork done up top here. But can they translate it into time? That's really the big factor. Denza tries to move forward. Nade's going to take him out. Last one going to be Maple, and Shaxter is able to come up with 2, and that is going to net them quite a bit of this time here, holding from the front.
Yeah, this is a really significant break from a Wobabobs. It happens around the 37-point mark. Team War only get the first 15 seconds, largely speaking, and that's just not going to be good enough, especially as we start to look over towards Granny's, and you've got Wobabobs in the back with good information on where exactly some of the Team War members are. But Wardy's able to slip through. Chance for him to kind of at least keep the play alive, but who's going to help onto the hard point? That's the big question. Wardy now coming back to the play, able to get involved, to take one trade and turn the hard point white for just a moment, but oh, there it is. Abuza and Chalkster once again just kind of eliminating Team War from the sides. Just as soon as they think they're looking for a significant hold, they get broken apart.
Yeah, they certainly do. Abuza putting in a lot of work there, kind of keeping the pin to the back, but now Maple and Wardy have been able to really fend off that push inside of the hard point. Not easy to do, but crucial time is needed. Now it's Denza. Couple snaps left to right for him. Goes for 3. Almost combines for the triple, but Wardy is going to be able to add in. And look at the power positions you're seeing right here from the Team War boys, as they're going to be able to stop just a lot of that aggression coming in right off the spawn. And this is a solid hill coming through for Team War, at least holding here from the front, doing a good job of being able to keep this one close.
They're hanging in. But the thing about this map is from 5-1 back to 2 again, that's where Wobabobs have really looked super solid. So as they currently find themselves needing a break over towards Barn, Team War will once again reduce the deficit just to about 20 points. Kills coming out for Team War, trying to hold from the front. Cobra will open up the back, but the focus on this break attempt for Wobabobs will be actually from the front doors. As long as they can find a kill, there's going to be an opportunity for them to use multiple points of ingress, and yeah, how about it? Kills come through very cleanly, and it's just as clinical as you've ever seen from Wobabobs. They break back in.
Yep, break back in. Now a chance to see if they can take away the spawns in the back, but I don't think they realize that there is actually just a couple of splits coming from behind, and that is going to allow a re-break from Team War, a chance for maybe 20 seconds here on the P4 hill. As Cobra is going to be heavily tagged, tries to take the challenge. Denza's able to get one, but looks like maybe remaining 10 seconds might end up going over to a Wobble. Still going to hold that lead. Brezzy on the early rotation will also be shut down, but now it's about what was going to happen at P5, and Denza and Maple making it happen in the back.
Yeah, really good stuff. And, you know, it's one of those things when we talked about this Team War squad back at the beginning, it was the conversation floating around what Denza and Wardy could do. Arguably the best SMG duo in Challengers, and maybe a little bit of a slow kind of forthcoming in the middle of the season. But if they could continue to find ways to work with the ARs like we're seeing right here, this Team War is absolutely one of the nastiest teams in Challengers. So good news here for Team War as they get it down to within 10 points. And the 5th hardpoint, largely speaking, has gone neutral. There has not been a lot of time for either team here. Finally, the Wobblebobs will get a convincing kill feed. That'll lead to them getting on. But Team War, still with the favorable spawns, have a chance to threaten again.
Here we go. Nades and stuns galore. Try to survive if you can, Brezzy. It's not going to happen for long. Now a chance to be able to fight for scrap time. Maple's here on the side. Might be able to move in, but Chaxter's going to continue to put on that pressure. This is also going to allow some early map control, but you take a look at player 7, Wardy has already kind of made that rotation over, making sure his teammates are going to be set up to try to follow through on his path, but you have to get through Chaxter. This is where you can get aggressive, kind of push up and continue to find all these free kills, but Harry, how about that one? Shuts Chaxter down.
Thing about that, though, with that little push forward from Harry, it actually influences the spawns to where the Wobblebobs are still kind of in a position to spawn bottom left of your minimap, and the kills, even though they're still looking okay, it's not enough to hold on to the spawn locations that Team War would have liked. So just as good as we started to talk about Wardy on the early rotation, an opportunity to flip the spawns around at the exact right moment, it's actually too good of a play from Harry that flips it right back around in their face, and that leads the Wobblebobs holding on to just about a 20-point lead with a chance to continue to fight over this first hard point.
Chaxter, just look how many engagements this man already has. Just kind of flying at everyone at Team War, getting information, finding kills, and stopping the moving in on the team push. But Cobra did have a bit of a slow start, now trying to pick up exactly where Chaxter left off. A couple extra seconds might end up going over. Wobblebob still holding on to that lead. But look at the back again. How about it, the route man, Wardy? He's done it now twice. This time it might pay off, but his teammates are close with him.
Oh, Brezzy gets gunned to the back line. That's going to lead to Team War getting the flip that they need at the exact right moment. Now the question is, can you actually hold this setup? Because last time around, they missed out. But Denza, great read from the backside of Granny's house. And it actually forces a terrible team nade out. Chalkster's going to fall and then immediately land his nade in between two of his teammates. So now Team War will get the best part of the early 30 seconds, no problem. And Wobblebobs are going to be a little bit stretched when it comes to trying to break this. There's not a lot of chance to play from the backside of the spawns. You kind of got to do this from the front. Chalkster able to open the door, touch, but he's going to be tracked down, and Harry will find his third straight kill.
Oh, you couldn't have asked for a better moment here for Team War. Look at the spawns. They're going to flip out, and two players are going to try to hit some of this time with about 25 seconds remaining. That might end up going over while the other players start to make an early rotation. But my goodness, massive moment here for the Team War boys trying to get themselves back in control of this. And now we'll see what Cobra's going to be able to do. He's the only one really through this water side to try to make a play. Suncheck won't find him. Neither one will. So he has an opening to maybe get through, but he gets sniffed out and doing a good job of controlling the back.
Peculiar rotation here on a Team War. That's a 3-man hit through tower. Brezzy's watching the cross on these spawns. He's going to be able to flip this. If he gets back a little bit forward and just maybe find a kill or two, this is going to put Team War kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Fortunately, they get a couple of trades, but that long route with 3 players heading over towards where normally the 5th hardpoint is was a bit peculiar, and it kind of kept Team War as a chance to go from scrap to initial cleanly. And now you've got Abuse it in for 3. The pistol will help out as Brezzy will get credit for the kill, and Wobblebobs from the front have been more than comfortable just due to the fact that Team War had not put any positions inside the hill whatsoever.
My goodness, you just take a look at what Abuse has been able to do here so far. 27 and 19.
Yeah.
And now Brezzy looking for the 4th, trying to get the pre-fire, 1 off of the glide. This is where things can get a little bit scary. Team War do not have a good hill on P3, and now they're once again down by about 30 points or so. Brezzy still desperately looking for that final kill so he can earn the glide.
If he gets this glide bomb, it's, I won't say win condition, but it definitely will help as they rotate to 5. But Denza will shut it down, just leapfrogging his way through to the side doors. Harry over the top of the tank. Good kills coming out. And Team War now have full control on the north side of the minimap, forcing the Wobblebobs to spawn down towards stables. They could possibly turn this to a 2-2 split. That seems to be the effort at the moment for the break. But Harry, as he's able to kind of delay a little while longer, there's a chance for Team War to read that this play is coming. And they've done relatively well, and at least initially speaking, but now Maple has to just focus on the hard point. Good help from his teammates off spawn, and Team War will still hold 4.
This is a big hill for them. Back and forth we go. So Wubba Bob's kind of getting 40 points off B3, and now Team War almost doing the exact same with 10 seconds that might end up going over as well. One last 1v1 off screen, and now the rotation being cut down. Abusa here. Can he find Denza in the back, however? That is really going to be the big question. Spawn's looking good here for the squad, but down low, it's Jackster able to combine for 2. Man. A 10-point differential, but it is going to be the Wubba Bobs that get on the point first.
I just don't love that motion for Team War across the map trying to get to 5. I would say kind of the big indicators, maybe 3 big indicators so far of Team War kind of missing out on chances. The first was Harry doing too well from the front of the hard point before 2 opened. It flipped the spawns around. Then you had the play around P3 where Team War just took a full route through River, and now here from 4 to 5, they kind of put themselves in one space on the backside of River. It's just too easy for the ARs of Wubba Bobs to just absolutely piece kill after kill together. It's just been a little bit too easy, I think, just based on the routes that Team War are taking, and it's led to a Wubba Bobs just kind of scraping together a lead here or there. And now as it starts to grow to its more significant portions of this map, over 200 points with not a lot of time on the clock, someone's got to pop off here if you're Team War as you get back over to Courtyard.
Yeah, just a couple extra seconds going to go over, but you said it. Someone really needs to try to make sure that a lot of this P1 hill is contained here for the Wubba Bobs. At least keep them off the point as much as you can, but Denza going to throw himself right on it, start soaking up time over that 180-point mark. A chance to be able to turn for 1, but Jackster's been so good with a lot of these breaks here so far in the game. And now Maple needs to try to get something done as his teammates all coming off spawn here. 205 to 182, still plenty of time on P1, and it will be Team War that move back in, but they can't last long.
Yeah, and they just don't have anywhere around Barn to help them out with these positions. In fact, they don't even have anything around Grandma's. A lot of this is just from the gatehouse, which is not really where you want to be. And it's look at the kills. It's so clean. These angles that we're starting to see for Wubba Bobs, they're really not even being hardly contested. So now all of a sudden, if you're a Wubba Bobs, you can essentially try to put this game out of reach by soaking up every second possible here in the scrap at P1. 220 to 184 is the current tally. And as Team War will get clearance, now you just have to hold. You put together one solid hold here for P2. You're back not just in this game, but you could possibly steal it away.
Certainly could. Fighting through the back here. Spawns will be in for Team War. Cobra wants to try to influence them. But he needs to try to stay alive, but the pressure's on. He's still able to find 1 at least. Not too bad, but so far so good for as far as the hold through the front. Team War slowly but surely bringing it back. Now they are over 200 points, and they have some great zoning here from the front.
It's got to just be clean kills, though, from Denza and Wardy. We already talked about the significance this duo has had. Time to show up. Good help from Maple. That's going to be the first 30 seconds done and dusted. And good follow-up kills from Maple. Harry can actually push forward. If he can lock down this lane, it's going to make life very easy for Team War. Now they've got the lead. Cannot fully win it here, but they'll be darn close. Actually, it's going to be really, really close. I mean, you just have to essentially just get a couple of opening kills here at 3, and you'll be good to go. So now it's on to the onus of Wubba Bobs. You have to clean this up and put together a significant hold of your own, because there was no chance that they were ever going to touch the old time.
No, most certainly not. You'll be able to get maybe a good 10 seconds here before the hit comes in. But Abusa needs to get some work done from the side. Everyone's going to be trying to push through mid, and now they realize, okay, Abusa's down low. Let's see if we can maybe flood out through the front here. Break this point. You're going to have to. 233 to 239. Cobra, though, might have found the angle to pop out, but he's only able to come with 1, and it's Team War that's in the point.
Well, it's Brezzy. Now he's got to do it. Not going to be able to fully get in. The SMG's looking good for Team War. 243 to 234. Chalkster hitting around from the backside, able to help clean up Maple. But now Wardy from the front. He's got the patience to just hold his life a little while longer and wait for the help needed to possibly put this game out of reach. Hardpoint goes neutral. Now it's just down to the final fight. Maple on the interior. Not quite able to clean up Abusa, but it's Denza to get there. One more contest on a Brezzy. The pistols are out. It's Cobra who takes the final 1v1. Now Harry coming forward with Wardy. They're not able to get the kills. It stops at 249, and there are no Team War members here to hit hold. You gotta hold for P4. The setup looks good. 2 seconds until it opens, Austin. Wubba Bobs need a break.
They have to go in. Abusa's got to try to make a play happen now, but no, the rotation holds on. Oh my goodness, what an insane first map that we get coming in here for us, Alan. So back and forth, 249. A second is all that's needed on that P3 hill, but they make that rotation and just barely hold on there in the final moments.
Wow, dude, it really did feel like at moments there, not just throughout the mid portion of the game, but there at the end, that Wobabobs were just barely going to do enough to sneak out another marginal win in the map to put it into a full win column for what has been a great hard point for them so far. But for Team War, the resiliency to continue to fight for some of this old time definitely allowed them a chance throughout. I mean, so many different moments where it was just, it felt like Team War were just kind of putting themselves in the worst position possible, and they were missing out on tons of potential time. But the thing about it was, as much as we were kind of sitting there, and I say we, but as much as I was sitting there kind of critiquing some of the routes they were taking to go between hard points, their ability to still scrap together time was actually pretty solid. And then you start to get to that final rotation of hills, and it's really just the super solid P2 setup that puts this game away.
Yeah, that was incredible. I mean, we've seen teams be kind of put in the blender, have that deep spawn where you're forced to just kind of throw nades over grannies and hope it connects so that you can loosen up some of the defense. But, I mean, you could also just see how quick they were to respond on that rotation going into new. You just saw in that final clip, right? As soon as they realized there's 20 seconds left, it's all about pushing forward, taking away that space, getting into the back, and already trying to get ahead of the play for new. But incredible stuff coming in here. You take a look at least at some of what the stats were, and man, oh man, Abusa definitely coming out here with a big number of 45, but on the other side, it is just going to be the overall assists, teamwork coming in. Harry also having a really big game to be able to match the ER pressure that was needed in order to keep this one close and, well, overall come out on top.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think the biggest thing about this map overall as well is we'll get a moment here in the near future to look over the full map set of what this best of 5 will look like. This was a key map for both teams. We've seen them each play this map 3 times so far throughout week 1 of the group stage here in stage 4. But I think that when it comes to Team War, you're looking at what has been pretty comfortable wins for the most part. When you talk about Bacaj, they had a couple of 250s to like 190s in there, and then a 2-point loss to AYM. But on the other side for Wobabobs, they have been very, very comfortable on this map. So it's been one of those things where it feels like this series could maybe be determined by the winner of this map right here. I don't want to say that as like a full 100% guarantee because the rest of the series set is pretty favorable to both sides, but this was an important one to start this series off with, considering that really the first 4 maps are all very preferred for both sides. So you get a little bit of an advantage in the series here by coming back into that map of your Team War, stealing away map number 1 after a couple of mistakes were made. That's going to feel really good, especially with Harry popping off like he did for 43 total kills with 5,500 damage. I mean, goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's just massive stuff, man. Not always easy to do with an AR on a map like Bocage. It's all about the positioning, and Harry certainly showed us that he was there with it. But good stuff coming through, giving the Wobabobs their first loss on the Bocage, and now we get to start looking at Tuscan Search Destroy, which I feel like is going to be really good news here for a team like Team War that has ultimately struggled when it comes to Hardpoint, but have actually been fairly decent when it comes to search and control. So I feel like now all of a sudden the vibes are probably a little bit better for a lot of these Team War guys coming into the rest of this series, but more specifically at least for the Search Destroy on Tuscan, both teams having a little bit of reps here and there for us, Alan.
And I think for Team War, as much as you love having map number 1, I think this is not only just a proving point for you, but I think it's also going to be another map that you look at and say we should be up 2-0 here. The only thing is on the other side for Wobabobs, they also like to play this map. They've got 2 different 6-0s playing in the first week. But the thing about it was versus Dizzy's Rascals and Katana, who are just not good at search and destroy in EU. So, you know, you kind of take that with a little bit of a grain of salt and you say, okay, cool, clean, but is it going to be as good as, you know, that here against Team War, who also prefers this map? So I think that as far as taking that first map, it gives a little bit of luxury here to Team War to say it'd be great to win this map. It's not a much needed one though. Whereas on the other front for Wobabobs, I think you have to win this map here if you want to extend this series beyond just possibly the 3rd map.
Yeah, certainly the case, but we will take a look at the overall leaderboards kind of coming in on this stage and see how everything has been faring here for us in Search and Destroy. And, well, you can see it. Abusa, he's been up there 1.6 KD. Of course, you also gonna have to credit Super. As much as he's not in this series, he's also been putting in numbers there at 1.73. However, that's the big factor. And then you look at Wardy, who has kind of always been a Search Destroy menace, right, Alan? I mean, when we were kind of even looking at him throughout last year, you know, this is kind of where he was able to make his name, start to build himself up as a player. And then obviously the respawn came afterwards. But these two in particular, obviously the clear standouts for as far as what we have gotten so far here in this stage.
Yeah, I mean, it's outside of the bounds of this matchup in particular, but I do know about you. How was it when Rocker made their moves, they didn't pick up Super? This dude's winning in KD in every category, in every mode, dude. He has been, by far, the definitive best player in EU Challengers this year. Every single series and season that we've seen, he's putting together numbers like that. Like a 1.73 KD.
It's disgusting.
That's stupid. It's unbelievable. On the other front, though, yeah, like you had mentioned, you look to Wardy. I think especially on this map to try to be the kind of entry vanguard player here to where you're the first one forward, get a good 1v1, possibly get the opening first blood and get out with your life. I mean, that's where you see that 66% non-traded kill percentage really pop off because he typically is the one finding first bloods more often than not for Team War. So that's where I really look to and say, okay, if Team War are going to turn this to a 2-0 series, you're looking at, once again, kind of the Wardy Denza combination. Can those SMGs get a good first blood here on Tuscan and get out with their lives?
Yeah, that's really going to be the big factor here for us coming in, but a chance to be able to go 2-0 up over the #1 seed. I mean, having the head-to-head matchup on top of all of this is also going to be huge. You know, coming in towards what could be a first seed if Team War can continue to keep this going. But this would be a big one. Just have to come out here and do what you've been doing here so far. And a lot of what this series almost feels like, for as far as at least the map pool that we got, is kind of just like a square up, right? Like, hey, like we're good on Bocage, you're good on Bocage, let's square up. Same thing kind of coming through for Tuscan. So you have to kind of really, think about how a lot of this last week has been able to kind of influence both of these squads, what you've been able to kind of look over, watch over, set yourself up for success with maybe a little bit of a plan for as far as what you want to attack and how you're looking to do it. But I mean, if you're able to do it, go 2-0 up here, and then, talk about already being a great control team, not losing a single control so far on the stage. I mean, you're going to be laughing if you're a Team War fan.
I think so. I mean, that's, it's tough because we're sitting here looking at this, and I think a lot of people are, like, in the moment, on the day, this matchup, obviously there's a lot to be told between, providing some sort of a differentiation between both teams. But you have to remember that, with the current Challengers Champs format, like, these are really important points for Wobabobs.
Yeah.
Like, they're currently not super far out of, like, the total international point tallies to get them a point, to get a free spot, but every point matters when it comes to trying to place high in this season in particular. As we get into round #1, Harry's good for the first 2 openers through the middle of the map, and that will actually put the brakes on considerably for Wobabobs, who have to now navigate a 2v3.
Yeah, and really, when you get stuck in this situation where you're down, man, don't have a lot of map control, you're going to have to kind of make a risky chow at some point or another, and Brezzy might be the man to do it. He is trying to throw nades and stuns over the top. Little shoulder peek, and that's going to give them info on Maple. So maybe a chance to push through mid. Wardy, he just got some awful timing, but might be able to hear some sound cues coming in here. We'll see if he's going to be able to stop it. Both players need to find this kill cleanly.
Oh, guns up. Wardy, good for one! Little spinorama. Gets damage onto Brezzy, but can't finish the kill, and then Maple very wisely waits for a bit of help to secure the round. It was a difficult 2v3, but for Wobabobs, I think you did everything you possibly could have. You get a good shoulder check out towards A Fields. Don't love the look of it. Head back over towards mid. Try to isolate. You nearly do. But the awareness to keep the gun out for Wardy, great stuff. Leads to a free defensive round, essentially speaking, after Harry's double. And now it's on to what does Team War want to do here on the offense? This is the question, because there have been times where they will run 3 SMGs and try to get at you really quickly over towards B, and then other times they'll completely hit the brakes and run 3 ARs and try to pick you apart. We'll see which one we get here.
Waiting patiently for a little nade over the top. Stun check through mid, seeing if any rushes are coming in, but not going to be the case, as that bomb will be at least leaning over to A off the rip. But both players taking a lot of space away here. Brezzy and Chaxter, they're going to have this on lock unless one of them end up getting picked here. And Denza's really just hoping that someone gives him a wide shoulder check here through the right side. But nothing really going to happen. Shots through mid, also not going to find a first blood. Now just kind of throwing out those nades to try to see if he can take out Harry. Beautiful.
I believe it does. Yeah, it's absolutely perfect. That's just really good awareness. I don't know how much of that is a call out from Cobra, who's playing over towards church side at the top. But regardless of it, yeah, he's going to see another shoulder right there, I believe, as well. Just kind of from our perspective, we see him just in the lens. Going to give up some space, but that's just great hold of counter nades. And yeah, now you've got Wardy on the other side kind of able to open the door. So it's just as good as the defensive nades were. Team War does the exact same thing back. They get the clearance that you were asking about over towards the top side of A, and that leads to Denza getting a plant off.
Maple finds Cobra. Now it's all up to Abusa. He's going to have to try to cut through 3 players here. And nobody is going to be playing through A-Long, which is going to be bad news for Abuser because he's kind of hoping for one of those initial engagements here to make this somehow possible. But now time really running out, making this round likely all done and dusted unless he does something absolutely incredible. But he can't even find a gunfight, Alan. Now he's just going to jump off the map.
Yeah, I really have to give a lot of tipped credit here to the defensive Wobabobs. You get a good read off of the sniper play through mid of, hey, there's a player sitting topside fired, let's team nade him. Great. You didn't get much information off of your opening stuns. That was by design, by Team War. You stay back. Don't give away any intel. But even still, Wobabobs do a really nice job of getting the initial pick. It's just when Team War are holding back in their spawn, not checking for information, they also have so much utility they can spend in the middle of the round to re-clear positions, and that works out beautifully for them as a absolutely medicated response. So now back to Wobabobs, and honestly speaking, it needs to be something convincing right here, because you do not want to go down 0-3.
No. Most certainly do not, and it's not always the easiest to win offensive rounds on this map at times too, so being able to at least lock in defense would be good. A little door check here from Chaxter, but it's actually going to result in Abuser going down. Doesn't really get any shots out of it, looked like, in the process, but now they're going to have to make a quick little change up, try to see if they can maneuver through mid, maybe work around this A site.
It's tough. You're going to feel so trapped here in the middle of the map. Wardy's going to give this information that Brezi's playing through, but wait a second. Okay, there's just the trigger discipline coming out. Wardy able to finish off Chalkster, who was already below. Maple watching the back. Big 1v1, and Maple will win it, leaving Cobra with a sniper rifle in no man's land by himself for a 1v3. Does have weapons near him. And there it is, MP40 now in hand, and actually, if he can sneak underneath Denza, maybe there's a chance to plant, but no, Denza watches it very avidly, and Team War solid on both sides of the bomb so far. 3-0 start for him.
Yeah, this has just been flawless the entire way through. And you can also really, just kind of credit them for not just throwing away a lot of their numbers, right? I mean, we see it so often at times in Search and Destroy where it's like one player wants to maybe start running around a little bit, see if you can maybe find something around the B site. That results in a 1v1 going over and gives you an opportunity for some of those clutch plays to come in. But everyone kind of playing together, playing off the information, trusting in the callouts here. It has been very clinical, at least so far. Maple's yet to die. Denza yet to die, right? So more players need to get involved here for the Wobabobs. And we'll see if they're going to be able to do it. A lot of stun checks coming out early, but a lot of aggression through this A site defensively here again.
Yeah, sure is. The thing about it, again, look at how Team War are setting up. It's so passive. They're not really giving away any information. And as they were actually aggressive with their nades, they're actually going to force the defense to kind of rotate back over towards A fully. Cobra able to stay alive, if only just barely. He's got both nades available, needs to use them to great avail. Gets a little bit of damage plus a stun check, but Wardy's already pushed the envelope forward as the bomb gets planted. 4v3 situation, and Wobabobs are very isolated, looking to hit this from multiple points of ingress. Good for the first, but you need to get Brezi here quickly.
You definitely do. And, well, Jackster's going to end up dropping, and you just need to rely on a big play in the back here from Abuser. He's going to have to try to sniff out Wardy, or maybe get past him, but Wardy's going to hear him, and now it's all up to Brezi. The defensive setup just too good post-plant.
Yeah.
And Brezi's just going to try to find a couple kills if he can.
Well, a good read on the situation, but not the right weaponry to really take advantage of it. Missed a chance. Obviously, a lot of damage to the player into the back on Wardy, but couldn't quite finish off the kill, and then Harry just quick by. No problems there. So now all of a sudden, we said 0-3 was a bad place to be. Now you're 0-4, and it's kind of do or die here. And the thing about it is, it just feels like the chess game hasn't even been able to start because Team War have played at a certain pace that Wobabobs isn't able to really respond to. And I think with that in mind, you got to go quick. Force Team War to make a play here. They've enjoyed the luxury of kind of playing a little bit more reserved. Force a gunfight early in the first 30 seconds. But no, Team War's not going to let you do that either because the team nades over to the backside of A, work out for another first blood, and it's just another early 3v4 for Wobabobs.
Yeah, it certainly is. And now you're maybe going to try to force what we saw last time around where it's just kind of running through B, trying to make something happen here through the back, but a lot of these sound cues going to be given over. Harry, though, will lose the battle. So that is a big kill. You take a look at the minimap, all three players are going to be kind of flipping sides here on the offensive end, and Brezi is ready and waiting for it. Shots going into the second, but he gets overwhelmed, and Denza finds the trade.
Chance here for the post plant, honestly. This is going to be a lot on Abuza, who is not just worried about the flank, but he's going to have to help out Chalkster, who's playing a 1-for-1 position. Good check in the bomb. You know that no one's on the defuse. You're just going to have to check it again here in the next 5 seconds or so. Maple has hopped it. Abuza up top. Chalkster about to check. He gets denied. Now you got to kill the diffuser. Able to turn it into a second. Now a 1v1. And where has Denza gone off to? Advantage to Abuza with the high ground. Sees Denza. The gunfight comes through. And it's a 1v3. Bobs able to get on the board finally.
Oh my goodness. That is one way to clutch up in an S&D round here. I don't know how he finds the shots onto Denza, who's kind of just peeking over the top. Holy. Big moment coming through. I mean, we said it had to come. You were hoping maybe a little bit earlier, but at least something coming in here for the Awuba Bobs on the back end of just an incredible play coming through for Abuza.
Yeah, it's just... The thing about it, as much as it's an incredible play, I don't want to take anything away from it. Team War are all over how they want to play this map. Once again, tons of nades coming through. Abuza, it's not done though! Kill number 4 and 5. Immediately for the opening double, he'll take number 6. Holy smokes, it's just down to Harry. Glide bomb, now an established threat, as the Wobabobs will take their second in a row.
Abuza is obviously sick and tired of losing rounds because he's like, I'm just going to take over from here on out, guys. And he gets a really big moment here at the start where he combines for 2 kills, snaps from 1 to 2. You love to see that. And then he gets a little info there on Wardy before getting the reload in for 3. And like you said, that's going to be the glide. And that's why Harry also jumped off the map. So they're going to be well aware that Abuza is one off of this glide bomb. However, this is now the win condition for Awuba Bobs. It's about getting this glide, hopefully in this round, though. You don't want to expend another one because that'll put you on match point. But it's all about if Abuza can find one more kill.
Well, Maple's down low. He is in isolated position, and just Chalkster gets the first blood deep. Abuza's just not being shot back at. Wardy's going to give it a try, but sit down, son. Are you kidding me? We saw him on the stats leaderboard for Search and Destroy, KD. Looking shaky to start, but these last 3 rounds, you start to see why exactly that 1.6 plus is where it is.
Listen, Alan, I know they're adding the Terminator to Warzone or something like this, but I'm pretty sure it's Abuza. Abuza's getting added to Warzone because this is 9 consecutive kills after being down 0-4. Holy, this is just absolutely absurd. Cobra's still yet to find a kill, but it's about the glide bomb now. And all of a sudden, this is going to start to slow you down a little bit. But Cobra is able to finally get himself on the board. Big pick onto Harry, and that's going to slow things down immediately.
Dude, War is shook. Honestly, they're absolutely shook. There's no reason that they should be changing their setups. Like, as much as you sit there and say, dude, Abuse is cooking us, the fact of the matter is he's just making great individual plays. Your team setup has looked good so far. So love the fact that they go for the plant still at A, even though you lose first blood by way of Cobra up top. And the hand pistol for Denza nearly makes it work out for Cobra. Wardy, not a great nade. He'll back out of fire for a moment. Maple called upon to take place to make sure the bomb's not being defused, and he will confirm that. Down to a 2v2. Abuza still alive, but only for a short time as Maple finally takes him down.
Good moment here, and there it is. So after finding the first blood, Team War at least able to move in, kind of find that bomb plant, and then from there, it's Maple's flank that comes through the back that really disrupts everything about that retake there. Big plays coming through for him with the sub, just kind of finding that opening through P5, saying, hey, listen, no one's coming through on a flank, so I'm going to take this opportunity to see if I can push through rather than playing through well or kind of going back up to fire to reinforce. I like that play call. And that's going to make sure that Team War find themselves still on map point. It was a little bit scary there for a bit, but the good news is, at least for Awuba Bobs, they still have the glide. They still have a chance to be able to get themselves around here. It's just a matter of how is Team War going to set up knowing the glide's in play.
That really is the big question, and this is really, I think, the best idea is to try to put yourself in a spot to where you just negate information by stretching the map, and then hopefully you've got some interior to get into to avoid it. And yeah, it's absolutely well done. But the thing about it is, Wobabobs now know for a fact that you're stuck inside a radio. First trade comes through, but look at Team War. I was going to say they're in a really good spot to respond to this, but the kills just are not there. The team nade's good for Wobabobs, and Cobra has slipped all the way around the back. The only thing about this is that they don't know that Wardy's still playing on top of the staircase, gets one, but cannot get away. Trade is good, and now it's Maple for a 1v3, which he's not able to really even kick off. And Wobabobs bring us back to within 1.
So they invest the glide, they get the round, and it's off the back end of just getting that information from both players running into radio right away. If they don't find those kills, all of a sudden that round becomes very difficult. But clutch gunfights come in off the bat, and that's going to keep this one close and, well, still available to try to pull out the win here. Just need 2 more after going 0-4 down. Still insane that we're even at this point with the way Team War had opened up with the first half of this map. The Wobblebobs starting to at least find their footing, figure it out a little bit, and Chaxter right through mid. This has kind of been the play call over and over again. He's going to get very aggressive and try to take away this mid lane.
And I love this call from Chalkster. I don't know how much this has been a read that Team War are not early challing mid, but he's gotten through. The problem about this is Denza's doing the same thing on the other side of the map. I do not believe he saw Chalkster on his crossing route, though, as Team War start to turn their attention with that play through mid, now over towards B. It's Abuza. Of course it is. He's got to be the one to respond to this, able to get one down and tag up a second. More still to come, though, and he's able to confirm damage, but only a single elimination gets us to now a 2v3.
Oh, and Cobra's got a sniper, so he's got to hope that someone peeks him, just like Denza did. And will Denza realize that he has the scope in hand? Not going to give him a chance. Slides across right underneath the cover. The Chaxter needs to maybe make something happen here. That bomb still has not been planted. Wardy's watching over his teammate. And now they're going to be together, holding hands, looking for the shot up close. Tries to turn with the pistol, but it's Denza. Denza from the side gets in there in the nick of time. And that's going to make sure Team War still closes this one out 6-4.
Dude, what a map. I mean, it really, it's one of those things that, you know, for, I will say 9 out of the 10 rounds that we had, it was just the team play out of Team War was so convincing. The first 5 in particular, we really got a chance to see that. On both sides of the bomb, what they put together on a strat playbook side of things was really the response needed to establish advantages right from the get-go. And it wasn't until Abuza started to go on 9 in a row that things started to turn. And there was a round in there where it felt like Team War were a little shook, where it's just like, all right, this guy's popping off. And that all of a sudden subconsciously turned to them changing how they played the map, and it kept allowing Abuza to get into forward positions. But I think eventually you kind of feel the, you know, the feet get back under Team War in that last round in particular, and even in the round that they were trying to respond to the glide bomb, even though it didn't really work out for them. I think the idea around what they were trying to do was good. It just came down to the fact that it's hard to avoid a glide bomb when you're stuck inside a radio like that, and everyone still got nades. So, you know, for Wobblebobs, good on you to try to bring it back, but I will say the first 4 rounds really determined how this map was going to go in my mind as far as how the teams were playing each other.
Yeah, and I mean, clearly Team War spent a little bit of time in customs or something along the lines of practicing where to throw their nades at the right time together, because there were so many opening first bloods or just really good nades into fire, which is obviously going to be the main power position offensively. So that's a big map, because like we had already kind of framed up here, Alan, coming into map 3, like this is Team War's game mode. This is their best game mode so far. They are the best team, you know, within control, within Europe. They have been 4-0. They have looked really solid. And I mean, it's been a massive changeup, because we talked about their hardpoint not really being up to par, not really being consistent. But this is where they have been extremely strong, and they're up 2-0. So, I mean, you got to really be talking to yourself saying, listen, guys, this is our best game mode. We're coming in here. Let's close it out in 3. Let's make sure we don't give these guys a chance anymore in the series.
That's not to take anything away from a Wobblebobs, who also have put together a really good start to what they've not just done on Control, but in particular what they've done on Tuscan. The big difference maker, in maybe this is kind of the answer to our kind of initial surprise and questions about, like, dude, Wobblebobs is sitting at 4-0. They haven't really played the hardest of opponents yet. I mean, once again, both times they played Tuscan Control were 3-0s, but they were versus Katana and Dizzy's, who just are really not putting together much of a fight this stage, sad to say. And then the other 2 teams that they had played were Team Invincibles, who are not bad, but not as good, and then Ultra EU, who, you know, obviously we expect them to be good, but I think that was just one of those days where Wobblebobs is playing better Call of Duty on the day. And so with that, we look over to the leaderboard, and that's what you get. I mean, you see it initially, 3 players for Wobblebobs at the top, all of which are above 1.37 KD. But again, you have to remember that 3 out of the 4 Control games they've played so far have been against the 3 worst Control teams that are here this stage. So that's where I think the kind of difference maker is when it comes to comparing the type of strength of schedule that we've seen out of Team War so far comparatively to what Wobblebobs have had so far.
I mean, I think that's fair overall. And I mean, Wobblebobs obviously have been able to showcase a lot of what they can do within the slaying department here for us. I mean, you can see it like Cobra, Brezzy, as well as Abuza. You know, these guys have all been able to carry very high KDs within controls. We take a look at that leaderboard, and then we have Maple, who is able rather to get in there at a 1.34. So he's also been slaying it a little bit here when it comes down to being able to be effective within that game mode. But I feel like the big factor, at least coming in, is that we know that maybe they haven't played the highest competition, but it's the fact that you're still 2-0 up and you know mentally that you haven't lost yet and you have been convincing. And it's a matter of just trying to translate that, bring that into this one here again. But on the other hand, this is a spot that the Wubble Bobs haven't really found themselves in, right? Like, it's always kind of just been about smooth sailing, having some close series here and there, going to a map 5, I believe, against the Invincibles last week, but being able to close out the search. However, this is a situation where they're 0-2 down. If you want to be a playoff contender, I feel like this could be a really big moment for you to bring this one back, showcase that you have some composure, and if you can win out and kind of maintain your flawless record here, that is really going to set you up for that top 2 seed going into playoffs here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not going to sit there and say that like this is a must-win series. Like, Wubble Bobs are going to be very comfortably likely in playoffs just due to the fact that you've got a pretty soft bottom side of the group standings at the moment for Europe. Like, winning 4 is likely going to get you in no problem. The thing about it is, you know, I will say, as impressive as 4-0 is next to your name, and on top of that, 12-4 in the map count coming in, I still look at teams like AYM and Team War first when it comes to potential favorites in this stage, due to the fact that they have put themselves in a very comfortable position while having to have played a lot of the better teams so far in Europe. Like, Team War's finishing schedule still needs them to play up against teams like Katana and Team Invincibles. So, you know, you're expected to beat at least one, if not both of those two teams pretty comfortably. Whereas on the other front, like, Wubble Bobs are now starting to get to the teeth of their schedule. They have to obviously play Team War here. They've got Rocker, and they still have to play up against AYM. So I would say that out of like the best 3 to 4 teams that are currently in Europe, they have to play through all of them essentially. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But it is going to have to be a reverse sweep for Wubble Bobs, as mentioned in Cup 12, a second place overall finish on the weekend. Great stuff for them, but again, they need points. They're like 70,000 down from guaranteeing themselves a position in the automatic bids for Challengers Champs. Otherwise, they're going to have to play through that LCQ where only one team out of the region will get through and represent their region at Champs.
Well, let's get into it. Map number 3, Team War, looking to take down the number 1 seed here in Europe. And, well, it could all take place on the Tuscan control. Attacking first will be the Wubble Bobs, and how about this breakthrough middle already inside of Church, looking at this B zone. We'll see if they can get through Wardy. Nice trade for Jackster, just a matter of how much time can he buy. Yeah,
and good follow-up from Brezzy off screen through the middle of Church to make sure that the players that are on the zone, now hampered by a lack of numbers, only really have to focus on the front. This is a really good play. A chance now for Brezzy to move forward, trying to get a bit of a stack. First tick of progress is good, but Team War around the back, Maple and Denza, that'll be good for full re-clear. Although they may not know exactly how Brezzy has maneuvered, and finally he will be finished off. And honestly, for Team War, as far as the defensive response is concerned, that's near picture perfect.
Yeah, that's great. Make sure that at least 2 ticks don't go over. Try to put some pressure now over through the zone, and Wardy, he's got a great angle from behind. That's 1 for Wardy, that's 2. Third one going to be Chaxter. He's got 1 teammate with him, but not exactly on the point, and that means that he is left open to that front push. So good stuff here for Team War, being able to find a couple of pinch plays and still just keeping everything neutral around this 8-point here thus far.
And they're already set up for another pinch play. Maple, number 5, is already set up into mid. He's got an SMG to work with, and he's completely put the brakes on this whole hit and even gets another double as well. So these plays off of this pinch for Team War have essentially kept the Wubble Bobs feeling like they're stuck in spawn. That's not necessarily the case, but it's going to feel that way. And look at Cobra. He's already on the long route back through A fields, trying to open the door by saying, if you want to play into our spawn, I'll play into yours. But he's at the moment kind of stuck. And once again, the play off the back for Team War is near picture perfect.
I mean, the Wubble Bobs are probably just like, are they spawning back there? Like what is going on at the moment? Because it has been just pinch play after pinch play. And now you're able to stop the clock. You're able to get over to B. And now some reinforcements also actually able to come in. You have to respond to this if you're Team War. This is actually 2 ticks of progress. Maybe a moment to capture the B zone in full. Abusa wins that 1 versus 1. Abusa comes up with 2, but it's Wardy who responds with 2 as well. Stun check comes in. Abusa gets there for 3. But it's the big thing B zone that captured, and now they have to move over to A.
And Cobra got the first blood in a 1v1 to get over to A cleanly, and he's not done! All the help comes through perfectly! How have they done this? Harry's on the response, but now the flank on the opposite side, as Abusa says, that looks like fun, let me give it a go! Second tick of progress on the way, It's being stacked with 2 players. Denza trying to run forward, but he doesn't get the regen off. And it's an 8v6. No one's able to touch this in time. Wobblebob's looking good to get the full offense. And it's just off the backside of a absolutely desperate play to be. How does that even happen?
It looked like there was like 3 players stuck mid-map there for Team War, and there was 1 player that was holding them. So they had kind of taken their time trying to get inside of Church. And while that happened, they're stacking with like 3 players on the point, and that tick is absolutely flying through. And by the time they deal with the player inside of Church, it's just too little too late, and Abusa pops the 2-piece and make it 3 up top on Wardy that locks it in. But wow, off the back end of a round that was looking like no ticks over to A turns into an offensive win, and now already moving into A will be Team War, but they don't win the initial battles, and already that first tick will be depleted.
Yeah, just good defensive nades softening up that offense completely. And to be fair, Team War, we're not really hitting that with full numbers. It was just 2 members that are making a play. Chalkster very quickly establishes that there is a threat imminently over towards B. Brezzy there to follow up, and that trade is fine. Even though Denza wins the last 1v1, he can only do so much by himself. Not even going to be able to fully stop the clock, as he needs to make sure he's holding his life as well, creating time for his teammates to get back over towards A. But Wobblebobs are a little bit lost on where Denza has gone off to. Big 1v1 over the top of the truck, but Brezzy at least shuts down the threat of Denza, and now the Wobblebobs can reclaim B and start putting their focus back towards their defense at A.
And I like that call, right? Just move over to B. This is the more important zone of the 2. A will likely end up going over, and they make sure at least no ticks of progress come through. Denza doesn't do too much damage in the back. But now Chalkster getting a little involved in the play, able to find himself 1. And are they going to be able to move in and try to stop A? Not looking like they have the setup for it, and I think they realize that as well. We're okay to give that one over. Let's just try to move over to B. It looks like they don't want to risk too many more lives and don't want to throw away any early kind of pressure or any control through mid-map.
And at least for Brezzy, as you're committing to this play as a full squad, you get a 1v1 through rooftops, and now look at the defensive spread. I mean, he is going to be putting Team War in a blender through this backside rooftop alley. Good nades come out. It does tag up Brezzy, but there's help from Chalkster. So once more, the defensive positions will reign supreme. And if you're Team War, you need to quickly realize that we just need to use Church. We need to get the high ground. If they want to put 2 players through P5, we have to force them to come back to us, and that's exactly what they're doing. Team War now from the high ground.
Here we go. First blood is good inside of that radio area. Chalkster on 4 in a row.
So
Harry
good
with the patient play, and there it is. They take the high ground. Denza pushes out the back. Now a moment coming through for Team War. Denza with one more big 1v1 on the Cobra. Cobra looking for the 3-piece, but no, the patience pays off. How is Denza still alive? Finds another one. My goodness. Big plays coming in, but you're at least able to come off the hot spawn. You are able to regain control around the B zone. However, a good moment there for Team War.
Yeah, a really good moment from Team War when it comes to doing exactly what needs to be done to isolate how this defense is trying to play a little bit further forward, and with a little bit of help from a team name. Now Denza's gotten the 1v1 on towards site. This is going to force the ARs of Abusa to move their way through. We did lose one of Wobblebob's player in the middle of this defense, so keep that in the back of your mind as the second tick of progress is looking pretty good. Cobra's still trying to fight for this defense, but it's not going to quite work out. And as Maple's going to come forward to help stack this, it looks good for another offense. The question will be, what happens after the player had dropped off from Wobblebob's? We'll find out, I guess, at a later point.
Wardy trying to move in. Denza
Cobra
can't win the battle. Cobra has just maybe saved the entire zone. Carried the last one up, but take a look at it. Chalkster from the side is going to get assistance there from Abusa in the back. So that third tick doesn't come all the way in. There's 50 seconds left on the clock, and there's 6 lives playing up against 5 here. And Wobblebobs looks like they've also lost a member. So trying to hold on with 3 members left is going to be fairly difficult, but Cobra still doing a good job here from the front.
And if you could salvage this defense, this throws some of the concern out when it comes to losing that member, possibly. And it's looking good for it. It's a 5v2. Maple's play around the back is a labored one, to say the least. And now it's just down to him. Gets back over, touches the zone. Defenders in front, defenders behind. And not going to be able to find the kill. So Wobblebobs hold on to the defense. But obviously there's going to be some discussion here about losing that 4th member in the middle of that B defense for Wobblebobs of what exactly happens as we continue to move forward.
Yeah, they play it out. I assume that would still be their round. I mean, they're the one that was down a member, and they still end up clutching out.
Here we go.
Brezzy looks like he's
Brezzy's
back in, so we don't even need to restart. I like this right here. This is perfect. This never happens. But this is good news here for us and the broadcast, as Brezzy is now back in the mix. And we'll see if they can slowly but surely bring this one back. And again, it's the middle opening off the break here on offense that has been so strong for them. Already 3 early kills, make it 4. Now they're going to try to move over to A, but Denza's in the back.
Yeah, Denz is in the back. There's always somebody in the back.
Seems
That's
that
what
way.
it feels like. It really does. Denz is going to turn that into a double, then go right back on to his mischievous ways, as he will not be able to find Abuza in time. It's a big 1v1 gunfight win. Meanwhile, Chalkster off screen over towards the back of the B defense has also kind of created some space for the attack at A to feel a little bit more comfortable. And as the second tick of progress is good, the third is quickly here to follow. But as Chalkster falls, Team War have already kind of given up the attempts towards defending A, and now it's just down to setting up another aggressive defense of their own, this time around the B site.
Bob's also not really losing a whole lot of lives, making that first initial push, up by about 4. Now slowly working through the back. There's only going to be one player kind of watching this backside. It's going to be Maple. He's going to be taking some long-range shots through multiple members, but the wallbang comes through for Abuza, and now you got to make something happen fairly quickly. Spawns over the field now. Abuza going to be well aware of this as he tries to now hold the back. His subs doing work on the point, and this has been great. 3 players going down, and they get to move on to B.
And Cobra is just able to run circles around Church. This is absolutely perfect, but he does get gunned off. Good team shots coming out of Team War. Now it's on to Chalkster. Automaton in hand. Brezzy over the top of him, kind of playing Guardian. Gets a double. And now it's on to Team War. You've got individual players that have to make a play. And it's all coming around the back. Wobblebobs are going to be very aware of this, but the nades off the defensive spawn are good to soften up the attack, and that'll be enough for Team War to reclaim, but they're facing down the gun of an 8 life differential, and they're still struggling to get map position here on the defensive side.
No, they definitely are, and you have player 3 off screen. Cobra is kind of going to be able to potentially make something happen through the back, but meanwhile, Maple is going to be under pressure, to say the least, and they'll be able to at least get him out as well as his teammates. So that is one heck of a way to break open P5. Harry, the last one up, and Cobra says no. No, you will not. They're stacking the zone. B might be good. This could be the start of the map with Wardy. Denza trying to make the play.
God, dude.
Rezzy has found 2. Goes to the pistol. Can't find the 3rd. And now it's a bit of a clearance, but look at the life differential again. 17 up against 7.
Dude, Brezzy had like a 1.5 KD before he DC'd. Now he's got a 9-3 stat line as he's rejoined. It's just, I'm telling you, he's the most slept on player in Challengers. We'll see though, because even with 6 lives, you could potentially still put together a solid hold here defensively. The big call is you need to wipe this next hit cleanly, and then hopefully get somebody into a cheeky position to kill the clock. The clock is your biggest ally here, but first and foremost, you have to stop this hit from Wobblebobs that's coming over through patio, and no one's getting gunfight wins.
Abuse says 24-17 right now, and you have no lives remaining if you're Team War. 30 seconds on the clock. Try to stall as much as you can. Wardy actually with a massive 1v1. That could slow things down considerably, but you needed the kill to come through for Harry, and it doesn't. Denza, Maple, what can they do? They're able to find 2, but it's not enough, and now it's all up to Wardy with 15 seconds left.
And Wardy's missed his chance. He's got a 1v1 right here. If he wins it, 15 seconds is going to put a lot of pressure onto a Wobblebobs, but he's not playing for the clock. He's trying to kill off the reinforcements, and the clock was his biggest ally. It's a little bit of an unfortunate read. His best chance with 3 players down was just to force the 1v1 on zone, hope that the clock would be your biggest ally, but not going to work out here. So Brezzy disconnects in the middle of a B defense for a Wobblebobs in round 2. He was already putting together a 1.5 or so KD, comes back in, and then kicks off the next offense 9-3, eventually leading to an Wobblebobs clean control. And that's what we're saying, man. These first 3 maps, it's hard to really kind of give a prediction because both teams have looked so good on each of those map mode combinations. And so Wobblebobs, step 1 of a 3-step process towards potentially getting a reverse sweep. And I think a lot of this map comes down to this first round because Team War looked like they were about to run away with it with how quickly they were getting these pinches, but then one desperate play over towards B kind of all of a sudden changed the narrative completely. Yeah,
it certainly did, and you're almost never really expecting it, I think, as the team on defense, where you're like, okay, like, you know, B is usually never a zone you're going to be able to fully capture, so they'll likely come over to A. They had that stack there. They just were not ready for it whatsoever, but taking full advantage of it was the Wobblebobs, and coming out here with a bit of flair. 3v4 does not matter. Close out that last round, and then they get it done convincingly with that final push. So good stuff here. 3-0 against a team that has not lost a single control so far in this stage, and that is one heck of a way to ignite a potential reverse sweep here, Alan.
Absolutely. It really is, I think, just impressive for so many different reasons. We don't often see, especially it feels like lately, we don't often see a lot of offensive wins come through on Control, let alone two in the same Tuscan. From a Wobblebobs in very different fashions, mind you. So I think that's really impressive. Just comes down to, trying to clean things up just a touch for Team War. And there's a part of me that kind of wants to relate back to what we saw in Bacage Hardpoint, where like the routes that were taken in certain key moments were just not all that great. It felt the same way, especially in that first round, like you were mentioning, kind of stuck in the middle of the map, so to speak. But I think you see why that's the case when you've got players like Cobra, who's able to put together about 2,500 damage, able to get 10 offensive kills. 3 of the tiers were captured, and Chalkster, the other SMG, that's that's what, 66% of the captured tiers that came through came from the SMGs, and a lot of the offensive kills also came by way of them. So I think that's really kind of an indication of why Wobblebobs are so clean throughout this Tuscan Control. And that means now we get to one more instance of Tuscan to kind of create and finish off this trilogy, as it will be Hardpoint next. And this is the one map that neither team has necessarily put together great stats on. So just as convincingly as both teams were in the first 3 map mode combos, the same could be said, but for negative reasons here in the Tuscan Hardpoint.
Yeah, that's right. Team War 0-2 when it comes down to the Tuscan, so they have not really had a lot of great success on it overall. And I think for the Wobblebobs, I don't think they actually have played it so far in the stage. So this is going to be kind of a question mark for as far as, what they're going to be able to bring to the table, so to speak, coming into this matchup. But I mean, at the very least, you just pulled off a 3-0 in one Tuscan respawn. So, it's just a matter of trying to translate that over to the next one. But I mean, even when you take a look at, some of the losses that have come through for Team War, some of them have been, some tough beats, against Ultra EU, right? Like 250 to 147. They had a closer matchup against AM Esports, 202 to 250, but for the most part, it has not been relatively close. We're talking about the overall score here, so you have to make sure that some of these players like Abusa do not come out and start catching fire, start going on these disgusting sprees, because Alan, he has been the big standout so far in this series with the way that he has just been able to flip the switch and just turn it on and just start to take over.
Absolutely. And I think just on top of that, because we were giving a little bit of praise there at the end, Cobra has also been really good in Hardpoint for this Wobblebobs team. So I think that's the kind of duo, so to speak, that you want to look to get into a map 5 situation. You want really solid SMG presence out of Cobra, and you want Abusa to continue to be this kind of flex style player to where he could be a threat in any instance as we start to move across the map. On the other side, though, for Team War, it's just been really interesting because we've largely always talked about this Team War squad in the SMG duo in particular, but Denza has not had a particularly great season, and I think that needs to change for him if they want to start finding more favor, in particular in Hardpoint, which, as we had mentioned at the top of the series, been Team War's worst game mode so far, and by all implications and assumptions, it looked to have plagued them throughout Cup 12 this past weekend as well.
Hey, and you have to kind of wonder, what has been the cause of that, because you go back to the beginning of the season and it was, Denza on his warpath, just kind of, trying to make the impossible happen with what was ever left to him, because he was just getting dropped from team after team. And, we were really just highlighting Denza as just being that takeover player, just kind of how we've highlighted a couple individuals here from this series. So, will we get that same Denza, or is it just more because he's trying to play that kind of objective role, trying to let his teammates kind of take over? What has kind of been the difference so far? But I do feel like you need a little bit more from Denza. He hasn't had the best stage, as you're saying. I think roughly around about a 0.8, kind of around there. So, obviously has not been slaying out a ton, but a chance for him to really come alive and push Team War to a victory. I don't feel like you want to deal with anything like a map number 5 going into a Bocage after a team like a Wobblebobs has been able to put together a couple of big map wins, especially if this map number 4 is convincing.
Yeah, and I think just to really kind of put a bow on top of this conversation regarding Denza, there is something to be said about his ability to play on the objective this stage. He has been, I think, more focused on it. As far as his team is concerned, looking at the stats, big shout-outs to Easy Mac, he has put together the second most amount of hardpoint time next to Maple, who will only really get into the hill after it's been fully broken. He's like the anchor hill holder. So when it comes to entrying, it does really feel like that is the role that Denza is taking this season, which, is what it is. You really can't say either, anything negative about it. But when you look at the overall team record and it being kind of as staggering as it is compared to what it was, you definitely see that there are some efficiency margins that are being missed out on entry, maybe in particular. So, I don't know. Things to kind of look out for. But as we dig through this Tuscan Hardpoint and consider the Bakaj search, if you're Team War, to kind of put a little extra pressure on you right now, you kind of want to finish it off here. Because you go back over to Search and Destroy, you know, as much as there hasn't been a lot of play time between either of these two teams on Bakaj Search, I will say Wobblebobs looked pretty darn good versus Invincibles. They did lose a round 11 on Bakaj Search, so, you know, I think that there's going to be some moments to look back on and learn from and become more of a threat on that map in particular. So I think if you're Team War, just get it done right here. Don't even bother with that map 5 that is going to be kind of a mystery for both teams.
Absolutely. And on top of it, you'd be taking away 2 hard points, which is your worst game mode coming into week 2. So think of what that could do going into the other 3 matches left in week 2. But here we go. Coming in, Hardpoint Tuscan, Team War up 2-1. Did just suffer a 3-0 on that control on this very map. But this is their chance to be able to get it done. Make sure you do not let any more air into the lungs of the Wobblebobs that started to turn up massively there in that last control map for us. It's going to be a fun one. That's really the big takeaway from this series here so far. Extremely competitive, very close here, Alan. Back and forth the entire way. It has been a treat.
Well, we'll have to reset the lobby here really quickly. And look, this is a conversation point that we've teased at a couple of times, but now that we've got a little bit of time to really talk into it, like, I cannot express enough with this current Challengers Champs format how important finishing in the top 2 is going to be for Wobblebobs. You know, as far as the format is concerned, if you're not familiar with it, at the moment, teams for Challengers Champs, the first 4 are going to be invited based on total international pro points. So Toronto Ultra NA is light years ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
But you look at Wobblebobs, they're in the mix to possibly get into that 4th position where Team War sits, oddly enough. Thanks largely to Brezzy, who's got 50,000 points individually. Shout out Texas Nation. So for Wobblebobs, the 2nd place finish in Cup 12 was great. The thing about it is, there's only one more cup to play. So this season is so important for Wobblebobs. They, in my mind, they have to finish top 2 and still finish somewhere in the top 3 in Cup 13 if they want to get an instant bid towards Challengers Champs. Otherwise, you go into the gauntlet. 1 spot left for each region in a last chance qualifier. So this is a massive series when it comes to Wobblebobs, not just being competitive, but asserting some dominance in my mind if they want to make an instant bid to playoffs here, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a valid point. Like, it is so necessary. You know, you want to be able to be invited, right? Like, you're guaranteed yourself that chance to be able to go to Challenger Finals, which is, you know, obviously the goal for every single team coming in. But with only 8 spots, I mean, not easy to do. Half of those being invited, and then, like you said, having to go through like a last chance qualifier where anything can happen, and it's only one team that makes it out through the region. Yeah, it's a scary position to be in with all the talent that we have, you know, within Challengers here. So being able to come out here, have a really good, you know, stage number 4, and then translate that into the next cup, that's huge. So yeah, every single win matters, and you know that's on the back of all the players' minds, right? Like, they know how important this is. They know that, you know, the extra work is likely being done going into their matches, trying to prep, trying to put themselves in the best possible situation to win, get pro points, because that's what it matters. But we do take a look at the pro point leaderboard overall, and we can kind of see exactly how everything that we've just been talking about is shaping up here for us, Alan.
Yeah, and the thing, too, is, you know, we talked about a lot of the individuals that are already being showcased here, especially Koba and Abusa in particular, but just kind of widening the gaze just a touch. You know, once again, Super at the top. It's just, I think he's the #1 KD in every mode this season. Again, if I'm not mistaken. And if he's not the top, he's in the top 3. I mean, he's been undeniable for this AYM team. He holds, let me see here, let me get the full numbers. A 1.4 in Hardpoint, as you see, obviously. A 1.7 in Search, we saw a moment ago. And a 1.15 in Control. So that's like the only one that's quote-unquote not as great, but even still, that's a stupid statistic. So, oh boy. It's definitely one of those things for AYM. You love having that on your side. Whereas for Wobblebobs, you know, one of the reasons that they have been as good as they have been is because of this quote-unquote duo that we're talking about with Abusa and Cobra in the mix. As much as we talk about Brezzy being as good as he is, you know, it's not just the Brezzy show of why this Wobblebobs team has been kind of recently rising up the ranks in this European region. So it's good to see not just one, but multiple members for this Wobblebob teams kind of get up into the mix. And on the other side, no one from Team War in the top 5. So, yeah, you know, that's, again, a big difference compared to previous seasons.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, especially last season. Like, I think I hit on it before coming into the series, but, you know, when they had Wee Man, you know, they were like 9-6 overall when it came down to the hard points. That was their best game mode. I think they were maybe like 4-5 in search, and then control, funny enough, was kind of one of their weaker points compared to this stage. So, I mean, you do have to kind of, you know, factor in, like, listen, they are playing with a new pickup. Harry's coming from the Pro League. Maybe he's trying to, you know, alter the way that they're also potentially, you know, coming into some of their maps. You don't know what's kind of happening behind the scenes overall. So coming with a new player, never going to be easy to kind of pick up where you left off. But I mean, it's certainly been, you know, a better stage, at least off the bat here for them. And they've been able to show, you know, a lot of great progress, at least in some of their map mode combinations coming in. But yeah, you definitely have to award, you know, the Cobra and Abuser coming in here from the Wobblebobs, who just again are just two players that we just haven't really seen a lot, you know, within these broadcasts, Alan, when it comes down to a lot of the guys that are trying to compete. We know there's plenty of them within challengers, but it's not always not always easy to kind of make it in, you know, to these stages when there's only 8 spots available to yourself. So the fact that they've been able to come in and actually kind of build a story around themselves has been great here overall.
Yeah. And I think just too, I was a bit surprised. I don't know about you, when we were in Toronto, when we were kind of looking through the teams and the roster lists, I was honestly a bit baffled and pleasantly surprised that Wobblebobs had made it into Toronto in the first place. And again, big shout out to the namesake of the team, Wobble, for helping them get there. And yeah, they finished top 16, but I think there was a lot learned from that in particular. So with all that being said, I believe our lobby continues to have a couple of issues. So we'll jump away just to a brief break, but don't go anywhere. Wobblebobs try to come back into a reverse sweep fashion. It will be a Tuscan Hardpoint for map number 4 right when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. We are live and into map number 4, Team War. Great 2 opening maps. but struggled to touch in the control. My whole shift with me visions. And a must-win map, obviously, for Wobblebobs to continue on to the reverse sweep. And we already kind of saw the Abuza and Cobra conversation has dominated the EU leaderboards. Can it once again be enough to get Wobblebobs a hardpoint win?
Yeah, we'll have to see. Abuza definitely having a couple of big moments here alongside with the subs that started to really heat up in the control. But now have to carry it through, and Maple's done a good job of being able to put himself in a good spot to potentially come away with kills, and he does come up with 2, and that's a big 1v1 for Wardy, as they're going to be able to maintain some control here, and T-War starting to hold on to some time.
Yeah, nice aggressive challenge at Adenza to make sure that the interior view stays safe. And even though there's an opportunity for Wobblebobs to come back on forward, and once again, the aggression out of the SMG line for Team War allows a little bit of clearance. Now on to Maple. A little bit of regen comes through, a double for him. And even gets to read where Abuse is coming from, but help from Cobra on the backside will keep us at essentially a dead even affair through 1. And now the question on the Team War, can you set up around this second hard point, create a bit of a perimeter, and maybe turn this into a bit of a money hill?
Wardy trying to take out Cobra here. Nice little finesse through the wall and gets help from Harry. Trying to lock down Radiant, but now P5 becoming a bit of an issue. Wardy continues to find kills. Nate is also going to take up the second player. That's going to slow things down. So the back has been controlled. Radio control has been great. They even have a player inside of Church right now, Alan, and nobody here on the Wobblebobs can really push through. This
is good, though, for Wobblebobs. You're going to get split spawned, and you're using this really nicely, kind of essentially forcing Team War to have to come to you, which opens the door from the back. Yeah, oh my goodness. That is, I love the idea from both sides. Team War, with 40 seconds on the clock, say, we've got convincing kills. Let's force them to spawn behind us by pushing through. But Wobblebobs realize the play, hold their ground, and they use a pretty solid split spawn situation to actually get a lot of time here in the back 30 seconds around the scrap of P2. That is a really good heads-up play on both sides. Initiation from Team War, great. The response from Wobblebobs, a touch better in my mind, though.
Now Abusa again, inside of P5. Harry's going to come from behind, cleaning up 2. And all of a sudden, you get to start to threaten the spawns into the back as Brezzy's going to have to deal with everything. His teammates coming through the field side, trying to line up 2. Brezzy, how do you get 2 there? Forcing out the team kill from Harry. Well, we call for Brezzy having to go big, and he delivers, but still, the spawns coming through in the back as Team War set up their next push.
Yeah, a bit of a split spawn situation as well here for Team War. Close spawns coming out of Maple and Harry while the rest of their team was funneling through Fire Hallway. That will work out for a clean break. But now, once again, the ask is, can Team War hold? And this time, Wardy starts us off with a bit of a convincing response. 20 seconds to fight for. Good hold from his teammates in the back, and Wardy's already in a great position to win rotation to 4. Just comes down to finishing off these final kills, which Team War looked good for, at least for now.
Wardy just so good at being the route man. We saw it on Bokaj. We saw it here. He isn't able to stay alive, but they have to go searching for him, so it buys time for Denza now to get here as well. He's going to spot Chaxter up top. Doesn't really fully take the challenge. Waits patiently. Finds 1. Oh, slides to the door. Finds 2. Denza almost moves in for the 3rd. As Cobra will be able to at least stop the spree. But can they maintain control? The push from the front, not really going to be successful. Harry's going to take a route. Now the rest of the members on Team War are starting to spawn to the field side. But a pinch in the back here from Wardy to see if he can do it again.
Wardy? He doesn't check his full corner. Oh, that was going to be a spawn flip, but Abuza is able to at least contest. Back and forth we go. Pinstripe goes the kill feed. Shockster able to double things up. But Team War, with how the kills formed, will still spawn close around the back. Thing about this is, there's only 24 seconds to play with, and Wobblebobs from the front have gotten here to reinforce. They know exactly how Team War are going to hit this, and the SMGs aren't letting anyone through. Cobra for 3. Brezzy cleans up the team wipe, and it's a Wobblebobs who finesse the scrap time at 4 to regain the lead.
Oh, what an incredible series we've had. And it continues to stay incredible in map number 4. 92-74. A Wobblebobs able to just inch out by about 20 seconds here. The early setup for Team War will be in for P5. Cobra on 3 in a row. Trying to break with Brezzy. Trying to find the gunfights, but it's Harry that's able to hold strong for 1. Sliding right into Brezzy. And this 1-for-1 trade. But so far, Team War, they've been great. Wardy's going to, unfortunately, team kill. But it's still going to be good control for Team War as they're able to maintain control.
Yeah, stuff like that's just going to happen when it comes to trying to break open the 5th hardpoint like this. The more convincing part of this setup has been Maple through the middle of the map, and with an SMG, he says, I need to get back over towards the hardpoint. Let me get some AR help over the middle, and Wardy's in the spot with a little bit of assistance from teammates to just make sure that the Wobblebobs never have a break attempt. But the long pinch play from Cobra, he saved the break. 2 kills through him. A little bit of extra contest comes out in the scrap time, Allows Abuser to consider a 1v1 for Scrap, but Maple is there to finish things off. So it will be after the first rotation of Hills. Team War in a pretty convincing position. Considering how these hard points have gone, you'll take about a 30-point lead going to the next set.
Here early will be Brezzy. Doesn't have the AR through the longer side of A long, but will be able to have assistance through you. However, Wardy and Harry starting to pick apart the hard point. Wardy gets another, pushing up with Maple, and how about the break? Team War once again able to just break down the setup from the Awoba Bobs, and it's been, what, 5 consecutive kills before Brezzy finally gets involved. And Denza has an angle to come through the side here. Brezzy, I think, is ready, almost waiting for it, but Denza's still playing his life while he focuses back to the point. This has been great for Team War as they're starting to take control.
I just, the SMG presence on the map from both sides has been unbelievable. But in particular, the flexibility out of Maple has been a key resource for Team War. 5 in a row, nearly had the 6th in his sight. I was just about to say, MP40 or Automaton doesn't seem to make a difference in Maple's hands on this map in particular. And as the scrap time will finish off in favor of Team War, they also have the ability to try to push out Cobra for spawns to do. And with Maple once again getting involved, it's not just spawns, it's also numbers for Team War as column will open up.
Oh, and we're also missing, you know, a lot of that AR slaying power that we were seeing a little bit earlier on from people like Abusa, who just hasn't really been able to get too involved in a lot of these kill feeds. But it is still going to be controlling the point early with the back end of Brezzy finding a couple of key kills, but hot on the attack. Coming right down the church alley. Denza's been able to open up with 2. Abusa now able to find a kill, make it a second with a nice snap inside of radio, and that's going to be some good and crucial time here for the Awoba Bobs.
Yeah, this is a really good response here from the Awoba Bobs. Not only do you get the break, but you're also putting some pressure over towards P5 with nade support. That's going to guarantee the majority of this scrap time, if not all of it, which was a requirement just to try to keep this map relatively close. And even more so, on the exit, over towards Fountain, good kills come through. Spawns will flip. Team War will spawn old. It's just down to number 8 in Denza. Can he hold backside tiles? No. And Chalkster cuts off the mid-rotation. This is scrap to initial for Awoba Bobs, who are down within 20 points. Team War, you need to put together some sort of a setup here. They're struggling to get over to the hard point, even more so that Chalkster gets 3 in a row.
And that's really the first time we've seen Team War kind of get shut down on a really big attempt for a break. And that's going to be the cleanup kill there onto Wardy as well. Make sure the spawn stays safe, but coming from the field side, Team War wanting to get that lead back are going to have to try to break with 30 seconds remaining. Harry waiting patiently from the arch, able to find that first one, but Brezzy from the side with the AR going to the pistol will be able to push out here through the front. And this has just been a lockdown setup. The Awoba Bobs again showing us what they can do, but Denza is able to at least get it here, contest a little bit of this scrap time and make sure not all of it is going over for free.
You're okay with this, though, I think, if you're Awoba Bobs, because you've already gotten to the first 40 seconds essentially for free. And with a little bit of finesse out of Chalkster towards the old time, it's going to keep Team War in place on scrap, which means that you can win this rotation with numbers, which is exactly what unfolds. So yes, Team War currently had the lead, but only for a small time. The biggest thing about this is Awoba Bobs, with SMGs in hand now off the respawn, can lock down this 4th hard point. Good response from Wardy to get the trade. Now it's down to can you get in and break. And what a read from Wardy through the side door. Now wants to go towards the back, reads the spawns, and Team War have gotten the break they needed.
You need the subs to come alive right now for the Bobs, but good nade from Cobra. That's going to open it up. Brezzy with the 3rd nade, and that's one way to break open the Churchill. As now Cobra gets the push out through the front. They know the field spawns are in. Through the back of Fusa, unable to win the 1 versus 1. The nades in response now for Team War as they flood in, looking for the break. It's going to be 3 kills coming through, though. Jack's looking for the 3rd. Cobra there with the assistance. The hold is good, and the Awoba Bobs trying to lock in the remaining 10 seconds here on P4.
Remember that moment. We'll go back to it at the end of this map, but that's going to be a key difference maker as far as how both of those two teams just preferred to play inside the church after they had guaranteed a break or at least some sort of a setup getting put together. But over towards the 5th, an indeterminate winner at the moment as Brezzy just bounce passes a nade over to Harry. Abusa helping as he tries to work his way back in to salvage his game. And, well, it's not going to be quite enough. Just down to Cobra, and as he falls, Team War right back into the mix as they get over the 200-point mark.
That's a big moment there for them. Now they get to kind of fan out through the rooftops a little bit. If they can win some of these engagements through the rooftops, everything changes for Team War on this point. But Abusa finds a big one, make it a second one. A break now coming in for the Awoba Bobs as they flood the point off the back end of Abusa finding 2. Maple tries to make a desperate play, but it will not happen. And Awoba Bobs, they can still end it on P5.
it looks like they are going to get this tick by about half a second, so you do have to still challenge this. Nades are going to be thrown over towards the front just to try to put some pressure over towards the front side of doors. With this contest, no longer can Awobabobs win here. But do they win the rotation? That's the big key, because numbers, honestly speaking, for Team War are pretty solid. Cobra looking to hit off of a bit of a pitch. Will be denied. The trade is good, and Team War will open up the first hard point to their name.
Here we go. All about the breaks. Both teams have shown some great breaks here so far in this map, but Team War holding on. Denta on the pinch. Oh, but he can't line up the second. However, it stops Abuser for a quick moment, and now this is the final push. One push left for the Awobabobs.
Oh, Cobra from the top clears middle and still has the angle to deal with the one defender onto the site. Awobabobs, they get the break. 245, 238. Team War, they're spawning in the back. Oh, Bobs don't know it. They're all looking towards the opposite side, but no one's going to be able to touch in time. All for a second. I thought Team War was going to catch Bobs off guard with how they were spawning over towards Fountain, but it did not make a difference because no one could quite get there in time. And I got to go back to one particular moment here, Austin, and we may see it on replay, so I'll try to point it out if we get there again. But when Team War break that church hardpoint from the front, we saw Denza kind of shouldering, looking for when he was going to be able to go in and maybe flip spawns as well. But Awobabobs were able to use nades because everyone was playing towards the front of the hill. There was no one up top over towards topside church, so once the nades come through, Awobabobs just used that as a chance to just flood into the hardpoint because Team War were all inside the low ground of church. That's the difference maker of this game, honestly speaking. And maybe we'll get a chance to see it and I'll point it back out again, but the difference in how Team War played P4 at the end there compared to how Awobabobs got their break and set up on the high ground was a huge differentiation when it comes to finding time. So Awobabobs clutch up, and now it's to a map 5 affair, reverse sweep on top deck here.
Listen, we wanted to see, you know, how this team kind of responds when their backs are up against the wall like this, you know, down 0-2. And so far, they've been showing out. My goodness, 250 to 238. And, you know, that was a game where Team War actually had about a 50-point lead kind of going into that second rotation. But the Awobabobs, they bring it back off the back end of a really solid P2, and they chain that into that P3 as well.
Absolutely,
which was just incredible for them to get away with. I think a big 40 points on that Fountain Hill. But the rotations were solid. Brezzy had a couple of big moments in the back there around P3 there to make sure they were still holding on to the close spawn. Just so many massive moments. And then the patient play at the end for, you know, Cobra to take his time to go top fire, find that angle, you know, through the pillar side on P1. Just everything was played exceptional, making sure that no one was jumping the gun, no one was rushing in individually, everyone doing it together. And what a way to be able to get this series into a game number 5 on Bocage S&D.
And it has to be said, with Abuza's really slow start, he was another key linchpin towards Awobabobs finding the breaks. There were a couple of different times in your middle of your calls where you're like, Abuza gets 2 on the entry with an AR. It's just things that you just don't expect to happen, especially considering the game that he had put together up until that point. But regardless of that, we've got a map 5 affair, and now the conversation can be focused on what has been kind of a mystery. It's going to be Bocage coming up for map number 5. Possible reverse sweep in play for Awobabobs. We'll find out and set everything up how things will unfold when we come back after the small break. Welcome back there, friends and family, challengers, fanatics alike. My whole ship with me, Visions, and we have had one heck of a series on our hands. Wobabobs 4-0, currently leading the EU group stage on the standings, going up against Team War at 3-1. It was a convincing, well, it was a tight, but at least a convincing start for Team War as far as the map count was concerned, up 2-0. But all of a sudden, after the 3-0 control and a tight affair there on the Tuscan Hardpoint, we've got a potential reverse sweep on our hands with Bocage, Search, and Destroy to finish us off here, Austin.
Yeah, a Bocage Search, and if you can have at least a little bit of a better start to the Search and Destroy in the early rounds here for the Wobabobs, then this one could be a little bit better suited for them, because we go back to what happened in the Tuscan Search, and you could really see them just kind of getting picked apart with the double nades coming into play. There's a lot of the early first bloods just not really going their way, and they went down 0-4 before Abusa decided just to take over and kind of get them back into it and keep it close, but not enough to push them over the edge. So now we take a look at what is going to be a Bocage S&D, and I still feel like this is going to be a lot of what we're going to get from the subs, especially through bottom, middle, into grannies and whatnot. But this is going to be a big one, I think, as well, because of the fact that both teams have clearly practiced their nades, and we're this far into Vanguard as well, where the first bloods, the double nades that are going to come out into the back tank, throughout the river alley and things like this, are all going to be extremely effective. And once you enable that first blood, it's all about kind of taking control of grannies with the double SMG pressure, which we've learned from this series, Alan, both teams have a lot of.
Yeah, absolutely the case. I think the biggest thing is what you started this conversation point with when it comes down to the playbooks, right? Like, as much as there were great individual moments from Abusa to look back on in map number 2 to keep them in the game and get it to around 10 in the first place, the advantages that we saw from Team War in the first 30, 45 seconds were, I think, just a little bit too good, honestly speaking. So, yeah, I think there are a number of things that we kind of learned about that now we can kind of immediately apply into here, but at the same rate, the term momentum and just confidence has to go back in towards the back pocket of the Wobabobs. You got to keep in mind that this is the team that just came off of a second place finish at Cup 12, and you have to assume that there were some matches that probably went the distance like this one has. So,
sure.
You have to assume that there's going to be, no kind of fatigue or strain when it comes to getting through 5 pretty tight maps, really save the control. But at the same rate, now all of a sudden it's down to, I think, the mental discipline for both of these two teams. For Team War, erasing the fact that the last 2 maps had happened, you were tight, you had a couple of moments in that Tuscan Hardpoint where you could have put this game away. Where on the other side for Wobabobs, you have to kind of cool things off, kind of one of those hearts on fire, minds on ice type things where, yeah, you're riding a high right now after the last 2, but you have to make sure you're giving Team War the respect they deserve in this Search and Destroy.
Yeah, you can't get overconfident with people, like Wardy and Denza that can really find those little windows within S&D rounds to kind of pick you apart and take advantage of, finding those multi-kills if you're not ready for them. So I think you're right in really calling out the fact that they cannot get too ahead of themselves. They have to still close this one out. They've been able to bring it back, and, a chance again for, one of their first reverse sweeps, I feel like could do wonders for them going into the rest of this stage, including playoffs, which they likely have locked up here with already the 4 wins. But getting the 5th, already kind of highlighting the fact that, the end of the season, getting yourself as many pro points as possible, all of it matters, and coming away with the first seed and setting up the bracket really well for yourself going into playoffs could also be, a great chance at being able to do that. So we'll see if they can, in fact, get it done. But Bocage S&D, I mean, just based off of what we've got through this entire series, just about every single map, I almost don't know what we're going to be in for, because it feels like we've had a couple of massive, even special moments kind of take place through every single individual map, maybe even something a little new here and there, going over to the control. So we'll see exactly, who's going to really set the pace, kind of, kick off the tempo right going into a map like Bocage S&D, which can be some pretty quick rounds at times.
Just as an update, as far as the other matches that are going on right now, a couple of really important ones as we're waiting for our 5th lobby to get populated and put together. Ultra EU and Rocker Academy are currently locked into a Bocage Hardpoint. Rocker up in the series 2-1, but they had lost the opening Tuscan Hardpoint 250 to 215. So Ultra EU looking to get to a map number 5. AYM, trouble with the Invincibles today. Map number 1. And then map 2, map 3, map 4 all went the way convincingly to Team Invincibles. So that helps them get back up into the group stage and with the potential playoff hope for them. And then at the bottom of the group stage, Dizzy's Rascals playing up against Katana Gaming. that was a 3-1 to Katana Gaming. And as the report is coming through, Ultra EU did just beat Rocker Academy on the Bacage Hardpoint, a tight one, 250 to 224. So they're also headed to a Map 5 affair. That will be played on Berlin. Any thoughts over kind of the reactions to those results as we've seen them so far, Austin?
I mean, I think that the Ultra Rocker series, like, that's always going to be a fun one, just with the narrative over top of both organizations within the CDL. But more so because, you know, Ultra EU actually looked really good in that last cup. We're talking about the fact that they were able to win the entire thing. They were, of course, just, you know, picking up Wee Man coming into that roster. So there was still a little bit of meshing being done, and we saw that kind of take place through the first week of this stage here in 4. But I mean, the fact that Rocker has still been able to kind of keep things close is going to be really important for a lot of those guys. We know that there was a lot of potential within that roster, and if they could overcome a big win like Ultra EU here in the stage and put Ultra 2 and 3, I mean, that also shakes things up kind of coming into playoffs. So we'll see how it takes place, but it looks like Search Destroy Bocage should be ready to jump into as we take a look at the map. It's all tied up at 2 and 2. If you're just tuning in, well, it's the Awoba Bobs that have been able to find 2 maps back to back and have their chance to pull off a reverse sweep here over Team War. Both of the top seeds in this European region fighting off as we go right into it.
Let's jump into it, brother. Team War on the offense first and foremost. Wardy and Harry quickly over to the backside of Stables, once again in a position where they really won't give away too much information. Stuns connecting to Chalkster. He's got to give up his spot, but is safely able to keep his life, while on the opposite and kind of over the top of him, Abuza does find first blood. Okay. Brezzy there to help on the play through mid, and the first 2 kills, clean as he'd like from Woba Bobs.
Denza, though, going to find himself in actually a decent position here with the back end of Maple kind of playing through that tank side. If Denza finds this cleanly, maybe it's going to be good for them overall, but Maple gets the trade. Jackster comes in with another, and now it's going to be on Maple, but his position's going to be known. Almost snaps on Brezzy, but Brezzy with a couple kills in the round will be good to hold on defensively here for the Woba Bobs.
I know it's early, but I do like the fact that Woba Bobs defensively are already kind of reading, hey, if Team War are trying to play a little bit more reserved, not giving away information off of our opening nades, let's stun check somewhere in the middle of the map and force a player forward that could do the same thing and try to stop any potential plays from essentially exploding through the middle of the round. So even though there really wasn't a first blood to happen off the forward play, for Chalkster in particular is what I mean, while we were on board with him, at least he's kind of keeping the consideration of Team War that, oh, we have to respond in some fashion. So I know it's early, but I like the establishment from Woba Bobs early, and now they're actually playing very reserved, almost not even leaving spawn here, just kind of reading the outside angles of where exactly this Team War is defensively positioned, but as Abusa gets naded back, all that early intel has essentially been forfeited.
And Abusa just continues just to kind of search for info, take some long-range shots there, and actually gets the best of Maple there off-screen. Forces him to reposition to a different location, and now a couple stun checks right through mid to open up these granny doors for a chance maybe to start pushing down low. But still, 45 seconds left on the clock. And these nades that have been saved up, just searching for information, but look here. We'll see if Denza can continue to kind of look through this window, try to watch over this A site. A lot of this position kind of relies on him staying alive.
There's got to be a lot of doubt being seeped into the minds of Team War, though, as there's been so much focus over towards B. And Cobra, long-range shots, able to take down Harry and the backside of the defensive tank. Now, all of a sudden, puts a ton of stress over towards Team War. First kill comes through in response. We go to 3v3, but the bomb is planted, and Team War still need to get over towards B. Good isolation of Cobra. Defensive numbers starting to persist. But with Abusa playing close and Brezzy playing deep, this is still a difficult post plant to break up. Oh, made much easier now, though.
It certainly is. Brezzy's going to have to fry Denza off the bomb, but he doesn't have an angle. And to me, I mean, a lot of that round comes down to what Maple did there. Just finding that first kill on the Chalkster and then backing up completely and playing his life to watch the push through. Kind of, you know, kept Abusa on the site and not really giving him an exit because Brezzy was playing for an individual 1v1 through the Riverside. But also good work there for Team War to kind of isolate Cobra through that top kind of barn area and make sure that he doesn't come through on a pinch play and kind of attack from the high ground there as they move in for the retake.
He was the insurance policy, right? He's the guy that's supposed to contest topside mid-street in that setup. So, yeah, it really is a good isolation for sure and probably win condition for Team War after dropping the first blood. So, once again, as you would expect, Team War playing very reserved, just not wanting to give away any early intel. Gunshots coming through, looking for wall bangs up to Chalkster's position in top Grandma's. Looks like for the most part, he's going to be fine, though. and will retake his position forward as he's going to be kind of the first point of contact for any play through mid.
There's been some very slow opening rounds on Bocage S&D. I think with the way the series had went, maybe a lot of us were expecting kind of some initial hits through grannies, double hitting it out, trying to get some early kills, but this has just been more about the wall bangs, more about making sure the bomb over at A will not go down. And Jackster here is going to continue to kind of hold on to his life. But the bomb is down low. It is going to be Denza that continues to hold on to it, and will some info over to Cobra. He's going to hear that door open and shut, but he's still going to hold his position. However, you got to make a move soon. You're down to 30 seconds.
Yeah, and the thing about this is Jackster avoided being hit markered by anyone up top, so his position's in a good one to stop any possible play on the outside, meaning Cobra could only focus on that front door. And yeah, it happened. Nice little double, reading the shadow, and that kind of puts this round, you would feel, out of reach. 13 seconds to play with, and Wobabobs are just kind of running at you. Harry, last one up, no chance. And it's a flawless round for Wobabob's defense.
And that's always the danger of utilizing the clock, to the final 30 seconds, because if the play isn't successful initially, all of a sudden, both of your AR players have to somehow kind of move in there, retrieve the bomb, and then likely find a kill or two to be even able to open up the site and plant it safely. So that is kind of the risk, but both teams have been playing very patiently, not giving over any first bloods on the defensive side, just kind of playing out their life here. So it will ultimately lead to a 2-1 advantage for the Wobabobs as they're now back on the attack. And we'll see if they decide to kind of switch up the pacing a little bit here coming into round 4 at all.
Yeah, it almost looks like they want to try to get a player on that last tank to maybe even stop any water wheel play. All of these nades would lead you to assume that. That one over the top will check the back defensive tank. Nobody there, so now you start to make your play forward. Problem about it is Harry's in a cheeky spot, topside mid. That's going to slow things down because now the flank is completely open. But Wobabs are still forcing forward. Yeah, they're going to play backside water wheel here. You have to catch someone on rotation, but Harry, ready for it, is able to keep the numbers of Timor even though he gets traded out.
It's a 2v3. You've been able to at least eliminate one defensive member, but still having to call for a big moment to come through with the disadvantage and 40 seconds left on that clock. Cobra might be looking to try to take a wide shell here, and well, little does he know, this is actually all completely open. Every single Team War member is going to push through A, so they're going to know that's clear, and they'll likely start to make their way over to B. It's just a matter of, can you find a kill before this goes down? And well, with that kill there from Morty, that likely seals the round here, as Cobra's going to have to try to grab the bomb and plant.
Not looking all that likely. And if he re-wraps back, I mean, he doesn't even have time to re-wrap back to A. He's just going to hold his life on 3. Okay. I can respect it. I mean, we're going in around 5, tied 2-2. There's still a chance for possibly getting a glide bomb. It's not immediately in the conversation yet when it comes to the next round upcoming, but there's still a chance. You never know. But I will say, here's the difficulty, kind of breaking down the opening. We talked about it, like we saw it from a Wobabob's perspective completely. It's a 3-man focus towards the backside of A. You're using all of your nades to check to see if anyone's playing on the front side of the water wheel stairs or in the backside of the defensive tank. No one's there, but the problem with it is that means you're not throwing nades over to the middle of the map. So Harry feels like, okay, well, if I can get to topside gate without anyone contesting me, thank you very much. He turns that into first blood, and that's how that plan gets foiled. So I won't call it a blind counter, but as good as the isolation was for Wobabobs, good awareness from Harry and the rest of Team War to make sure they use their advantages where they're given to.
Team War trying to switch it up a little bit. Denza's just going to try to force out this bomb.
Oh, he
plant,
doesn't stick it all the way.
Window side, he doesn't get it down. And Wardy, though, is still able to at least play his life inside. And now Denza gets out with his life. So it's all about retake here, and Cobra's already hot on their tail.
Cobra's in a great spot, but Wardy still is able to find it. Trade from Abusa. Do they know where Maple is? Seems to be. Nade over the top, just barely misses, but Maple on the retreats. Keeps his life. Denza gets activated, and oh, it's a huge double from Denza. One more on the interior. Chalkster gets stuck behind the door. And I believe that was Denza who got the third as well. Wow. You thought for a second with him not fully getting the plant off, maybe hopping off just a touch too soon, that, Wobabobs know that this plant's coming through. They can get here to try to contest this, but even still, Denza, an impressive double, finishes off that third kill indeed. And now a one-round advantage over to Team War, where Denza is threatening for potential glide bomb conversations.
Yeah, he is. Just a big round after starting 0-2. And, that's kind of what I was anticipating when I look at this Team War roster. I look at Wardy, I look at Denza, and I think they're going to get very active, very aggressive here at the start of some of these rounds. And that's finally one where we get it. But responded with some defensive aggression, will be punished here. Brezzy and Chaxter both able to get involved, and that's going to create a man advantage here on the attack. Still plenty of time to play with, and you have Chaxter that's kind of bottom grannies, has a lot of room to be able to make a play, but he does have that bomb.
There were team shots that were going over to the top of Grandma's that I was about to say, did they connect onto Harry? It may not matter now as Wardy was looking to force a play around the back through Stables. So 1v3. Harry's looking to maybe just guess to see if it's going to be an A plant, but he will guess incorrectly. Nade over the top. That actually may land on the exit. No, it's a little short. So now it's down to how do you break open this post plant. Chalkster will be the first one up, and the timing is not great. Easy gunfight win for Chalkster holding in the corner, and Wobblebobs tie us right back up at 3.
Such a fun one. And it's the opening engagements there, right? It's Team War that kind of put on the aggression in the last offensive round, and they want to do the same going into this defensive round, just to kind of shake it up a little bit, keep your opponents on their toes. Don't kind of want them, anticipating the same thing round after round with some slow starts. And I mean, you could really see it there. The Wobblebobs, it was all about kind of, moving in through mid, kind of taking control of that mid lane, getting bottom grannies early, and they do so successfully, coming out with that round. So very close, highly contested search destroy so far on the Bocage S&D. But now moving back over to the attack will be Team War. Last time it was Denza that went for the early plan on A. This time it's more about posting up here again, searching for a kill.
Difference in the defensive setup, though, for Wobblebobs is a double stack over towards B, where Abuza will be in a great spot to essentially go 1-for-1 and then have help immediately around him if there is a full commit towards B. And honestly speaking, with Team War not having any intel over the backside of A fields, you kind of feel like you're forced to make a play towards B. So as far as the defensive setup is concerned, this is the perfect response. Just comes to execution. Abuza gets one, not able to get away with his life, and, well, the defensive help that was around him has actually moved, but they still have nades to work with. None will actually fully tag, though, but still, the advantage definitely still tilts to a 3v3 in favor of the defense with the bomb being down.
And Wardy gets through. He plays that isolated island player, and he's going to go through the bottom tunnel here to kind of get them some control through the back trench area. And Brezzy might not expect it. If Wardy comes all the way around it, he will. Harry finds one onto Brezzy, so Wardy knows it's good. Shots onto Cobra are good as well. Wardy's play is going to be successful. So it all comes down to Chaxter. 1v2. Has to get through Wardy. Has to try to get through one on top of the bomb. But he's going to be heavily tagged, spotted, waiting for the challenge. But the challenge comes to him. And it comes in doubles as Team War, they get through and they get that plant off successfully and take the lead.
It's a matter of just slight doubt in the defensive timing out of a Wobblebobs because Abuza's thinking, okay, time is ticking away. We haven't seen anything yet. If there was going to be a play towards B, it probably should have happened already. And his two defenders that were watching mid-street and watching backside tower had left to go see what was happening maybe over towards A. And at that exact moment is when Team War decided to execute. And even though Abuza gets one, the help to trade things out, not quite there, and it leads to openings in that defensive setup where Team War eventually allow Wardy to get around the back. So now 4-3 the count, and the chess game has been really well played on both sides so far. Wobblebob's looking for spam shots topside. Grandma's not going to be tagging anybody. And as the front doors have opened, actually, there's a chance that Team War may have to second guess, wait a second, have they actually gotten into the front side of Grandma's here? We have to be very cautious about a play through mid.
And they're going to try to take it right through mid, potentially. Kind of going for a couple of shoulder checks there. We just saw it come through on the mini-map from Abuza. While Chaxter works down low. But he's going to be running into a lot of members if he breaks open some doors here. Has to be careful with the bomb. Shots are coming through. Maple's in the back. Chaxter's going to try to challenge out back here, but now he's able to get information on the Denzel.
Oh, no.
He peeks it, and it's awful timing. Cobra gets one back to try to recover the round, but it's still a 3v2 here in favor of Team War.
Oh, man, and the bomb is down in the worst position possible with Team War members swarming around the front doors. Brezzy still collects, though. Mostly allowed by Team War as they're still making sure that they've got some defensive space to work with in this 3v2. You don't want to give away too many advantages, and yeah, now you've got the indication of where the bomb's been planted. Brezzy would have to pop off. It's not going to happen, and it's just a simple piece of timing again, man. I mean, Wobblebobs is going to watch back on this VOD and be so frustrated because Chalkster's in a great spot as he moves over towards the second floor staircase till you think, oh, he gets a free kill onto Harry here, but he doesn't check the stairs, and then all of a sudden, Team War start taking shots back, and Shox doesn't know what to go for, and that chaos just filters in the favor of Team War, who now find themselves on match point.
Yeah, favors Wardy there too. Massively, think 3 kills there in the round? Puts him on 5 in total. Just absolutely going rogue through the bottom of Granny's. And now a similar situation here for Team War, like they found themselves in map number 1, or map number 2, excuse me. Up 5-3, just a matter of closing it out. Wardy with an AR going to switch it up a little bit. Last time he played that island player here through the field, kind of hit behind A and hit the tunnel. We'll see if they decide to opt in for a B push again. For now, it's just a widespread here waiting for a push.
I think this is the best idea if you're Robobobs. Just play point of contact defense. Yeah, you're holding some really safe positions. Team War has to come to you, and as they do, you find first blood, no problem. Brezzy now gets out, and you can now change your defensive situation to where, honestly speaking, I would just love to see them stay reserved and wait until Team War hit and execute towards the bomb site. It looks like they're going to try to do that, just based on where exactly the two extremity players are playing. Chalkster holding inside around A, Abuser just watching a close angle on the cut towards B, and the other two defenders are playing reserve positions in the back. These are very tradable spots, and this is the right call for Robobobs in a 4v3.
20 seconds left. You have to make a move. Jaxter going to be responsible for trying to break out and stop the bomb plant. There it is. Right back in. And, well, this is going to make it pretty difficult here for Team War. They're going to have to grab the bomb, plant it, and, well, protect the planter. But Harry is able to open up with Cobra into the back here, so
there's just no time.
We'll be able to at least find a kill. However, no one makes a move for the bomb, so they're just playing out kills and trying to make sure Wardy stays alive there on the 5 spree.
Yeah, you know, it is what it is, right? Because you're 2 off getting a glide bomb, but you feel like if you get 2 kills, the round is probably going to be yours anyways. Like, it's one of those situations where you're playing blackjack, you're on 20, and the dealer's showing ace, and you say, do I really want insurance here? Nah, I'll be fine. Obviously, that reference didn't really land with you, Austin, but it's okay. We'll talk about it later. You never take.
I love the reference, Alan. It was great. It was fantastic.
All right, dude. Thanks, bud. But here we go. Round number 10. And Wobblebob's defensive setup over towards A, but they've got the ability to try to isolate towards B. The problem about this is there are no defenders nearby, and these nades are likely not going to land.
Very aggressive here, but Brezzy runs out of ammo, and Denza wants to stop this push. Chaxter, are they going to know that he's been able to hit tunnel? I don't think they will, and it's just a matter of what Chaxter now can find from this position. A lot of the pressure kind of coming on him, but he doesn't necessarily need to make a play. If they get inside of B, he can kind of watch this cross. But what do they want to do? And it looks like player 7 off screen, Cobra's going to try to move around the back here. So multiple moves being made at once here for the Wobblebobs.
The thing about this is Chaxter cannot force this angle. Oh, they've missed the chance once again. If they would have making this hit through tunnel over towards A, they would have stopped the potential rotation. But Maple very astutely backs up towards his spawn, denies the ability for Chaxter to do anything with his forward position. And now Harry over the top of the tank completely shuts things up. It has to be something incredible. And Brezzy nearly beams Harry, but it's not going to be enough. 15 seconds to play with Abuser for a 1v3. No bomb in hand. Harry's going to avoid the gunfight, milk the clock, and the hopes of a reverse sweep are now down to a simple piece of timing, and it's not going to work out. Oh, golly. Chaxter's really going to be kicking himself on those last 2 offensive rounds. It's just... Yeah. You don't check the staircase in the first, and then there, I honestly feel like once you know that Maple's playing backside tower, just move over. Get around the backside of A, stop the play through water wheel, and just secure your post plant. It's tough. It's a tough decision to make. We've got the luxury of a mini-map. They don't, but those 2 decisions, I think, were the difference makers there as Team War stopped the reverse sweep.
Yeah, I think so without a doubt. I mean, you could see the timing. It almost looked like it was going to work out for him, but I mean, Maple is just always going to play that back angle very passively. You could see it there a couple times where he played aggressively in the earlier rounds, but in that situation where he's the only one watching B, he just backs all the way up, sits in his spawn, and Jaxter challenges him with the sub, which is an easy first blood, and everything kind of just starts to crumble from there on out, never really being able to work off the back end of the position he found himself in. So what a good map coming through for Team War. I mean, the fact they go 2-0 up and they make sure they don't get reverse sweep here is going to do wonders for them, because now that's going to put them in a pretty favorable position coming into what could be now a first seed for them if they can keep this going through their next 3 matches. They hold the head-to-head versus the Wobblebobs now, so they find themselves in a really good spot. And overall, Alan, I mean, this was just such a fun series, extremely close to in so so many of them. Even when we go to the control, as much as it was a 3-0, a lot of very close, precise moments kind of breaking out there through the Tuscan control too.
And really cool offensive looks from the Wobabobs in that map in
Yeah.
particular. But yeah, I agree with you. It's one of those that I think going into this matchup, considering the softer opening schedule for Wobabobs, the question was, are they for real? Especially compared to a Team War squad that did put together a very good first 2 days last week. And I think we kind of got our answer that, yeah, this Wobabobs team is absolutely for real. And should be taken 100% seriously, because as you had mentioned, not only were their 2 losses tremendously close in the first 2 maps, they had a really good set of looks right there on the 5th map. And then, of course, their ability to dominate a control was affirmed and 100% cemented here against another good control team in Team War. So I think as far as the anticipations are concerned for this season in particular, I think we may have kind of gotten a look at our top 2 teams, at least right now, based on the standings are concerned, but potentially on what kind of the other teams have been doing in their matchups today, because Minnesota Rocker Academy just took down Ultra EU 6-1 in their Map 5 affair. So this Ultra EU team that just came off of a Cup 12 win, not able to beat Rocker Academy. And I would say our top 4 teams at the moment are looking really, really nasty when it comes to how they could possibly finish off this final season of Challengers Elite here, Austin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that one's insane because I think that puts Ultra at 2-3 now. So a chance now to even make it into playoffs, it's going to be difficult for them. So we'll see if they're going to be able to recover in their second match today and their matches tomorrow.
Well, hey, good news. I've got great news for you. We're going to see him next. So we'll see how things unfold for him. We're going to send things to a break as we get between our first set of matches into the second. Don't go anywhere. Final group day coming up here, or final group week rather, I should say, coming up for the EU region. And we'll be back with that Toronto Ultra EU and Invincibles matchup on the backside of the break. Don't go too far.
time. Punching the clock, I'ma get what's mine. While everyone's sleeping, I'm living my dreams. I got a calling that's so divine. Lord, take the wheel like 10 and 2. I'm losing energy, I'm overdue. I've been on the top ropes, hitting my post. Watch me hit the power moves. Been here, done that. You all know what we came for. Been here, done that. You all know what we came for. Energy, energy, energy. I need that energy, energy. Energy, energy, energy. I need that. Been here, done that. You all know what we came for. Been here, done that. You all know what we came for. Energy, energy, energy. I need that energy, energy. Energy, energy, energy. I need that energy, energy. Been here, we done that. We done that. You all know what we came for. You all know what we came for. We been here, we done that. We done that. Energy, energy, energy. I need that energy, energy.
Welcome back, everybody. We are through our first slot here in day number 3. I had to think about it for a second of the round robin for Europe. My whole shift with me Visions, and we've got an interesting one. I think at the beginning of the day, at least, maybe even beyond that, we were looking at this matchup thinking that Ultra Academy EU just came off of a cup win and cup number 12 should be good on the day. But surprise, surprise, they lose to the Rocker Academy roster in a map 5 affair, while Team Invincibles were able to take down AYN. So all of a sudden, both teams are gridlocked in the middle of the group standings. An important matchup all of a sudden becomes to us here, Austin, as we look at this matchup right here.
Absolutely. It's a massive matchup here. You know, both teams being at 2 and 3. You want to be able to hold that head-to-head, and you want to get as many wins as possible here in week 2 to set yourself up for playoffs. So it is going to have to be a massive one, but we take a look at the series layout that we'll have ahead of ourselves here. It'll be a Gavutsu, Hardpoint, Tuscan Search, go to a second Gavutsu on Control, and then we'll end things off with the Bokaj, with the Hardpoint and the S&D. So at least a little bit of a variety here in this one for us, Alan, with a couple different maps thrown in. But overall, like we just said, it is a massive matchup. Both these teams, if they want a chance to be able to make it to the playoffs, it really starts with this match right here.
And I'd say this is a more important map for the Invincibles than necessarily Toronto Ultra Academy EU, because the final match that these two teams have to play in their group run, Ultra Academy EU plays up against Dizzy's Rascals, whereas Invincibles will play up against Team War. I think those are very evidently different strengths of teams in the mix. So when it comes to putting yourself in the best position possible if you're Team Invincibles, get yourself a win right here. It essentially will guarantee some sort of a tiebreaker situation in some form, as all of a sudden we've got 7 teams that are kind of in the position to battle for the final 4 that will get into the Season 4 playoffs. Opening start, though, for Ultra Academy EU, looking really good, as it's 3-for-1 overall engagement, and time will go the way of Toronto Ultra.
Yeah, and I feel like you also have to kind of re-hit the fact, listen, Weeman's coming into this roster, right? He is someone that is still kind of fresh off of his old team on Team War. It's a matter of trying to find your footing and set yourself up. But I feel like a map like this, Gavutsu, you're going to probably have a good time if you're Ultra Academy with Beans. You have Weeman, who loves to play that hard anchor role, so it could be very good. And so far, a lot of this time around P1 has been solid, as it's been all Ultra Academy EU. And now it's a matter of looking at this P2 rotation coming up next.
Yeah, I think just off of the inherent AR presence that you assume will be there for Ultra EU, that this would be a map that favors them. However, Invincibles did just come off of a map 4 win on this map versus AYN. So we'll see if there's going to be anything kind of thrown back towards them. Little skyscraping shots coming through there for a moment off the top rope from P2 as it does open up. But the numbers around the top looking pretty solid for Team Invincibles. Rafi in particular in a great position to kind of at least riddle some of these attackers of Ultra Academy EU with some bullets. And, well, what you thought was going to be convincing positions all of a sudden turns into convincing kills the opposite direction, leaving Grad by himself. Does well to at least alleviate some of the pressure, but needs a little bit of help before we can get out of the hard point, and help has arrived by way of his duo and Rafi.
Oh, you're going to have to try to now hold on to your back spawn here. This is a scary spot to be in if you're Ultra Academy. You have to slay out right now, or else you are going to be potentially flipped out with the spawns. Grad does reveal his position inside of green, and is really just going to kind of hold on for a second. Meanwhile, all of this time does end up going over to Invincibles. So as much as Ultra Academy open up with a fantastic P1, Invincibles are going to be able to do one better, come out with the majority of the time here at P2. Now it's Grad trying to make the big move to see if he can maybe influence the spawns heading into the back.
2 players in his way, and well, that'll be the first one that takes him down. Rafi's still in position possibly to challenge, but Beans is so aware of it, saying, I'm anchoring, dude. You're not going to get through me. I've got teammates that are already over towards ring. All I have to worry about is this mid-cut and the backside flank. And now that his teammates are starting to stretch forward, Beans actually wants to try to get into the middle of the map to maybe even flip the spawns around, and they can hold from topside ring and from the front of the hard point. And it looks good for it, at least in terms of how you've manipulated the spawns. Now it just comes down to the execution as Invincible's looking to break from the back.
Yeah, here we go. First kill in for Weeman. Furious now also holding on to the side angle by the rock, and oh man, back and forth we go. A strong P2 for the Invincibles. Now an even better P3 with just about a full 60 coming in. The flip of the spawns, and now kind of keeping them trapped behind green as Furious on that 4 spree, trying to stay alive, but Nolson will be able to cut him down, stop him on that spree. It is still Weeman that's on 5 himself, 2 off the glide bomb.
And when you've got just 3 great AR players, I mean, Weeman and Beans, I think the question when Weeman was initially picked up was who was going to be the main. We got our answer. It's going to be Weeman. Beans is pulling out an MP40 every now and again. But Furious is just as good as any other flex in Europe when it comes to being able to play between both weapons. And obviously, Steve-O, we've already talked more than enough about how he's been the best player in EU Challengers over the course of the last 4 years. It's just the combination makes sense on this map, for sure. So now it's down to the Invincibles, down about 50, 60 points. Need to find a way to break over towards P4 as Ultra Academy EU had won this rotation again. And even though Niall's in the back, he's going to be hard-pressed, you would feel like, to be able to do too much to influence the spawns. But it may not make much of a difference because he's in a great spot to cut off the reinforcements, pending he can win his gunfights, which so far he is. 4 straight for him, and the break from the front, largely good for the Invincibles.
Yeah, that was off the back end of Grad, who did get teammated out of the hill there originally, and then does respond with one onto Rafi.
Return to sender.
This is actually going to be great overall coming in here for yourself, as you were able to at least get inside to make sure Ultra Academy weren't coming out with like back-to-back 60s of all hills on a P3 to a P4, right? So now we look at P5, and now you do at least have the initial setup. It's a matter of how much time can the Invincibles get away with, as now we'll have Steve-O trying to work in through the back, able to find that first kill, wants to get up close and personal, and well, he's been allowed to. He's already inside of green, and he has a chance to break.
Wants to wait a little while longer, though. I mean, this hardpoint time has gone largely to the game clock, surprisingly enough for Team Invincibles, and now Steve-O can make his move, and nearly gets a double, but Grad responds with 2 of his own. Wee Man able to get into the site for a time, needs a little bit of help. Furious there to try to provide it, but it all rests with Wee Man, and a nice little snap over to Niall. The nade will eventually take him out of the point, but Ultra EU in a good spot to try to recontest.
Yeah, there's a reason Wee Man was picked up onto this roster, and like I was touching on there at P1, this is such an AR dominant lineup that you have here. But a big 1v1 for Wee Man again. However, he's got more players to deal with. Your reinforcements are on their way, but it will be a quick kill there for Rafi, and then Beans responds. So early setup again. Over to Ultra Academy. Will be up by about 40 points, give or take, heading into this P1 hill, but you're going to have to make a play around the back here. It's going to be Grad just try and make something happen on this pinch. He's able to loosen up the defense, and now this is a chance to break it.
Have to get the kills from the front, though. That's the biggest thing. And as Niall loses his gunfight up top, it's down to the SMGs. And actually, Rafi doesn't have an SMG. He went forward with an AR, and that was a bit surprising, I think, just considering the positions that he was holding. Stuns now on the way back as Invincibles looking to re-break on their second attempt, but the numbers are still so good for Ultra EU. Even trades to get things going. Finally, Nolson back into the mix with an SMG, and he turns that into 3 in a row. Slow start for Nick Nolson, but right back into the mix as he gets to 13 and 18.
Oh, man, nice little double there on the old hill, and no one's going to soak up that scrap time now, so it's just all about this rotation inside of the ship, and last time the Invincibles did a really good job controlling the top here, as Rafi's going to win a critical 1v1 versus Steve-O, take out one of the close-range subs, and see if you can work your way up to the top and start picking off the Ultra members as they move in.
And Nolson's still kind of keeping it hot, even after he naded out the hardpoint. Comes back through with an SMG mid-map for another triple. That's going to open up an easy route off the respawn for Invincibles to get here to reinforce P2. Steve-O trying to counter. Good initial attempt, but has to wait for the regen, and as he does, the rest of his teammates fall around him. So, all of a sudden, Invincibles back to within the 40-point margin. Have a chance to get this to a tie game, and honestly speaking, you could actually get a pretty convincing lead here if you can hold this setup as we go back over towards 2, and the kills are starting to lead us to believe that that might be imminent.
They very well could do it here, but a couple kills come in for Ultra. It all lights up purple, and that is going to come at the perfect time here to make sure you at least are able to get in here for the remaining 20 seconds or so, and you already have player 5 here, Furious, on that rotation, but he's got a lot of big gunfights ahead of him here as he's going to have to post up.
Oh, really good on to Furious. All long-range shots not going to work out, but Steve-O able to secure the trade. 3 members down. Ultra not pushing forward yet, so the spawns will come through successfully. The nades are also going to land. Now it's on to Team Invincibles. Can you reinforce and set up this hardpoint hold? So far, yet to be determined. Furious still watching the mid-side crosses. It's just, you have to wait for Steve-O to get here because someone has to try to push, and it looks like the lack of confidence without an SMG is kind of keeping Ultra Academy at bay. Finally, though, onto the point goes Furious. AR's watching over the top of him, doing a decent job of keeping the hard point at least neutral for a time, but Invincibles looking good as they continue to fight for this 50-50.
Yeah, this is like how much time going over to the clock. It feels like the last 20 seconds or so here, as nobody has been able to really make a move and stay alive on the point. Maybe finally you can get in there for the remaining 10 seconds, and Rafi will be able to at least get in there for a moment. Tries to battle out P1. And Nolson will be able to find the trade. So now about the rotation again. This is where we saw Ultra have that last time around in that first set of hills, but can they hold on to it? The Invincibles did an excellent job through breaking on the front, and it was because of Grad's 2-piece. So we'll see if Grad can try to make a big play here again.
Spawns have already flipped. Beans is in a position on top of ship where Steve-O is actually going to be all the way out, but the problem about this is the Invincibles don't recognize where exactly these Ultra Academy members were coming from. Big shout out to Beans for keeping his life for as long as humanly possible, keeping life difficult for Ultra Academy EU, and that will take our team in purple over the 200 threshold. So now Invincibles need to break. You cannot go down 240 to 144 and assume you're going to be able to win this game.
No.
The problem about it is they're still getting cut off of this rotation as Ultra Academy EU just continue to have good map control over the middle, and it looks like it's pretty much a foregone conclusion at the moment as this will be a full hold.
Yeah, and because their ARs kind of stayed alive so long and chip, it really forced the Invincibles to kind of split up and say, well, listen, we can't give them rotation to P5 as well. We have to contest it, but at this point, it's looking like it could be a little bit out of reach. We know Gavutsu, you can chain some hills together. 144 to 234 with only about 16 seconds remaining here. Ultra just need to either find themselves a clean wipe or work into the back, and they will be able to close this one out. But so far, so good here for the Invincibles. They are keeping them spawn trapped and are doing a good job at least controlling mid-map.
The thing about this is, even if you get a full 60, you're still down 30 points or so, and you're going to have to make up that gap and then take the lead with not a lot of time to play with on P1 or P2. So you're going to have to be perfect in this position through the ship and over mid. Not just right now, but if you're going to make this comeback happen, it has to be for the rest of this map. And with 20 seconds to play with, Nolson will turn tail to get back into the hard point to make sure that he's able to at least secure some more score. And it looks like Ultra Academy EU are going to forfeit another hit in order to determine a heavy setup over towards ring. It has to be now or never for Invincibles. You have to win this break.
Yeah, and the nades are going to have to be the way to do it, but Steve-O going to be able to push out through the front, and now the ARs are set up inside. And one last hit really remaining. It's going to have to be perfect, and Steve-O is still alive, still behind the members of Invincibles. And that's going to be a lot of crucial information over to Ultra Academy EU, where they should be able to close this one out. One last chance to try to get in, but nope, will not be allowed. Very convincing, and that's exactly how Ultra Academy EU wanted to kick off the series.
Yeah, it's just, I think as much as Gavudu Hardpoint stands out as the unique map in the pool when it comes to Hardpoint, I will say that it's when a team really is good at this map, you see how clinical and just rudimentary their hardpoint is. They're like, in that whole first rotation, Ultra EU looked flawless, going from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and then setting up some sort of a break over towards 5. And when you see that kind of methodical play style really turn to results, you kind of have to just appreciate the beauty that comes out of just really fundamental hardpoint. And the communication you have to know is going to be there to kind of help that. And it's just, it really is, a thing of beauty to kind of watch players and teams kind of pop off at key moments to guarantee tough rotations. And that was kind of the storyline, it felt like, through the entire first rotation, and largely speaking also in the second rotation between 3 and 4 for Ultra EU.
Yeah, and it was really just like that P3 into 4 too, where like oftentimes like it's like, okay, if you get a full 60 at P3, we're gonna take a full 60 at P4. Like that's kind of almost how a lot of this map will also end up working at times. And because Ultra just kind of chain both of those hills together in specific, it makes it pretty easy to kind of build up that lead from there on out. And there's just too much catch up you almost have to do as well, if you're a team Invincibles. So I thought that was extremely well done, just kind of manipulating the spawns in the remaining 30 seconds there of P3 through the beach side and making sure they set themselves up. But man, that's exactly what I think you wanted to see if you're an Ultra Academy EU fan. Coming in with the hard points, that's where you kind of expect them to strike. A very respawn heavy team, and with the likes of having a longer range map with a lot of ARs, that's where a lot of these guys are also going to be able to find success.
Yeah, that's the thing with this Invincibles roster. As much as they have not had statistically the best win-loss in Hardpoint for this mode, particularly for this season, their win-loss average differential in points is actually positive. Like, going into today, they were 2 and 5 in Hardpoint, but they had an average hardpoint differential of plus 4.8, which goes to show that when they're winning by a lot. When they're losing, they're typically not losing by a lot, save the instance that we just saw right here, largely speaking. A 57-point game is not exactly a tight game when it comes to Gavudu in particular. So that's where I think the curiosity for this entire series starts to creep in, is that this Invincibles team, they haven't been able to close out hardpoint maps. And if you're going to win this series in a key 2-3 win-loss for both of these two squads trying to get into playoff contention, you're going to have to ice up in maps like Bacage Hardpoint, for instance, if we eventually get there, which, if you're an Invincibles fan, you're hoping that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's what I've always kind of just looked at. Whenever I see like a lot of these individuals, specifically like Grad, Rafi, like I think of Search and Destroy, right? Like this is where I think that they can really have their moments, can really kind of build up their own narrative, just because of the amount of practice that they've put into it before kind of switching over to Respawn, right? Kind of maybe being a little bit more of a niche EU S&D scene. There is still a scene, and these guys obviously come from it. So, looking at them to potentially be the standouts coming in towards, a Tuscan Search and Destroy, you have to win this one because you do not want to go 2-0 down. I mean, we always say this. You don't want to go 2-0 down going into the control, but you don't want to go 2-0 down going into another Gavutu because of the fact that we just saw Ultra Academy EU kind of just wipe the floor with them and really just show us that they are better when it comes down to just having more ARs on that squad here. So this is really the map that I think they do need to take, because remember, both teams are tied 2-3, so this is absolutely a massive one for both of these squads to try to come out on top in.
I agree. And interestingly enough, this is the first time that both these two teams will have a chance to play this map in at least Stage 4. So be a fresh look, so to speak. And yeah, I think that you hit it on the head when it comes to, I know there's Gavutu waiting for you in a mode that for the Invincibles, we haven't really seen them play a lot of Gavutu control. In fact, we've seen them only play it once and they just beat AYM on it. Everything else has been Tuscan. So yeah, I think when it comes to a 1-for-1, looking at the hard point, looking at the control, yeah, we've established some dominance in the AR department from Ultra EU's perspective. So it feels like a must-win map coming out for the Invincibles. We'll see if they can provide. Their Search and Destroy has, statistically speaking, been really solid for them largely.
Yeah.
Only a couple of bad losses here or there, but largely it feels like they have some really good setups, and that was also something we kind of noticed while we were watching from behind their setups at Toronto as well. Their Search and Destroys, they were extending maps and extending series pretty nicely. It just comes to closing them out. And, well, a tough opponent in front of you to try to do that, but it's a requirement. We'll see if they can provide. Opening snipe from Nolson, good, but the hit from Ultra EU over towards A is just as good. We get to a very early 2v2.
Oh, shot could be missed there on the second attempt for Nolson, but the nade will hit. And, well, the second nade hits as well, so they got information on the last member just about 25 seconds in. Already into a 1v2 here for Furious, who has a kill on the board, has the bomb very close by. So there's a lot of opportunities to kind of work with here if you are Furious. Just a matter of which one do you want to take. He's going to start to kind of shoulder out through mid and search for some information here through the back.
So much doubt here on where Grad is positioned if you're Furious. No one's seen him all round, essentially, since the opening exchange. And oh, there he is. And how about it? You find him, you take him down, and now it's you versus what you would assume would be the pistol or sniper rifle of Nolson, and Furious is expecting a follow-up challenge as if Nolson was going to re-wrap around. That is not the case. Nolson's just avidly waiting in mid-map for either someone to cross in front of him or just to get the indication of where the bomb is planted before he makes his move.
And Nolson, unless he can find an automaton or an NP40 on the ground, is only really going to have, that pistol sniper to work with. And now he knows that A is clear. He did try to go for the 50-50 overall. Furious is just going to kind of post up here in this corner.
Wow.
See if you can read him coming through Church Alley. This actually very well might work out for him. But Nolson, he is there. Tries to go for the slow peek. Doesn't connect. And Furious with the 1v2 will steal the round away here from Team Invincibles.
Is it just me, or Austin, are you puzzled every time we see a sniper, last one left alive, that they're not trying to change that sniper rifle out for a rifle? I get the pistol's good. That's fine. We get it. But, like, he ran through you where there were at least 2 or 3 dead bodies he could have found a rifle off of and just decided to go pistol the whole way. I don't understand that. Take the extra second and a half and get a rifle.
I wonder if it was too early in the round where it didn't actually drop the guns because everyone died fast enough, because I know it does that sometimes, so that could have been the case, but either way, definitely difficult.
Well, Olsen's pushed off of his initial entry towards A, and how about the forward setup for Steve-O? Prone on the L heady. Grad's around the corner, and 2 other Team Invincible members are nearby, and that's just a really good awareness stun check from Grad. You don't have any forward position towards A. You don't know where anyone is, so just check your corners. Well done, and it's Team Invincibles for the opening 2 kills.
Yeah, it was looking a little bit better here on the attack. Beans, though, will still be kind of watching over A long if they decide to push through, so he actually has a chance for a double up if they do not trade him. Meanwhile, the mid-map now also going to start to be watched here from Weeman. So you do have at least a little bit of a setup, but you're going to be overwhelmed quite quickly if they decide to hit something together. And, well, V-Man's going to get a lot of information here. First one is in off the top ropes. Grad will get the trade, but Beans will be able to gather a lot of information here.
Thing about it is, how do you turn this information into kills in a 1v3? And it doesn't look like he's going to have too much of a chance to do that. Bomb quickly over towards B. You assume the free plant. Beans working off the flank is going to essentially be chasing Niall's shadow for a while here. And, well, Niall's going to be playing in a corner just outside of headquarters. Doors are shut. Boards are still up. Has Beans seen him? No, he hasn't. Tough to assume based on the little cracks in the walls, but a really solid start for Team Invincibles, and just really good awareness to know you have to check these forward positions when you have no ability off of the initial pushback of Nolson to read where Ultra EU are hitting from defensively. It's a really good check.
Absolutely. Massive check, and just really utilizing that mid-map control too. That top fire position, really well done here from the Invincibles there in the previous round. And that allows them to tie us all up here at 1 apiece. So offensive favored so far, and now Ultra Academy EU. Last time it was kind of about that aggressive chow, but Nolson with the sniper might have actually stopped him from kind of going for it, at least off the rip, but it's not going to stop Grad from now taking advantage of a lot of early map control here, and he has a chance to pounce on any shots that are going to be fired here, so we'll see if Ultra Academy can hold on.
That cooked nade doesn't touch. Ultra EU are trying to do the exact same thing. Again, they have no idea what's playing through the top side of A field. But there was a team nade thrown over towards mid-L, and Steve-O thinks that was enough to check. It wasn't, but Grad misses the opening shots. Steve-O already had a nade in hand. That won't be able to give him the trade. And we go to a 3v3, 45 seconds to play with, and still the question remains, how does Ultra EU clear space, and how about team nades? That's beautiful.
That is. They know Grad. He's kind of trapped inside of you. Let's just nade it out, try to get some information, and better yet, they come out with the kill. So now, 3v2, Ultra Academy. Man advantage. How do they decide to play this? It looks like A is likely going to be the target. 25 seconds to try to get this bomb down, but you have to rely a lot on Furious to watch over mid as Wee-Man's going to try to stick it.
Oh, the nades were so close yet so far. Bomb planted. Beans watches over to make sure the exit is good. And oh boy, after what initially looked like it was going to be a huge advantage for Team Invincibles with Grad through the middle of the map, Ultra EU get the trades, beautiful set nades to confirm another kill, and then you just stick and commit for the plant with time running out. It's, yeah, really good awareness coming out from both sides so far, but the reactions out of Ultra EU in round 3, just a touch better.
Still offensive favored here. Who's going to be able to put a stop to offense first? And now it's a matter of maybe making something happen either right through B or right through well. This could be a mid-map play, or it could just be a rush to B, and the bomb kind of just comes a little bit late. Here we go. Furious able to find the first one with ease. He finds the second one with ease. One by one they come. Furious says, no problem. I've already been able to take out 2.
Yeah, I don't love that commitment from Team Invincibles, even less so that Furious takes the third with him. I think the biggest thing about it is if you're going to try to fake any sort of a hit towards A to spread the defense up, you have to confirm information off of any of the nades. And you saw us, I think it was the bomb carrier that, I think it was Rafi maybe, that threw nades over towards mid just to throw nades towards mid, and there was nobody there. And if you're not going to get a connection off of a stun or an opening frag towards mid, the defense doesn't feel pressured to move around and help that player that's would have been at mid, so to speak. So for Furious, with nothing connecting on your defenders at A, you feel good that you could just sit here and watch this doorway. And for Team Invincibles to not throw any extra nades over the top of B for that hit, I think it's just kind of a cataclysmic mistake. So it's a good round for Furious nonetheless. Ultra Academy EU break up our all-offensive fare. But Niall with the first blood may be able to respond and start turning this into a defensive-sided map. And as Nolson gets a second, that very well may be what's in the cards.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 2 kills right away. And now it's just a matter of not throwing lives away here if you're the Invincibles. And, well, there's a flank coming all the way through the back, and one by one, Ultra Academy are losing out. Beans is going to win a battle, but he's got to win a close-range gunfight versus Grad, and he's already on top of him. So nice convincing opening kills here, and that's also going to be a nice play from Grad. He's kind of wrapping around the back, realizing that that angle's open to hit the flank.
Yeah, great containment, honestly. Also helps when you get 1 kill through top A, 1 kill through mid, so it just makes that route through B that much more secure. I'm curious this time around if Ultra Academy EU are going to try to maybe do a little bit of a tempo change after what has been kind of a lot of pick apart defenses in the last 2 rounds. Maybe they're going to try something a little bit more greedy this time. Nolson with a sniper rifle looks to keep his focus toward topside A. And yeah, this is a little bit of a cheeky approach. Ultra EU, 4-man hit over through headquarters. 2 by way of the mid through well, other 2 through headquarters in particular, and they're all the way around the back. No one's going to expect this from Team Invincibles whatsoever. They should have an idea, though, because they haven't seen anything in front of them. And now as Steve-O kind of reveals the position, it's on to the Invincibles to scramble and try to deal with this.
Yeah, that's a first kill that comes in, and they have to know there's more back here, but it's still 2 individual, right? And now you've lost the numbers. There's no bomb planted, and Grad and Olsen are likely going to have to either rotate all the way out, try to work some picks through A long, or just go right to B. But yeah, this round just got extremely difficult, and B's also going to be watched from Wee Man if they decide to try to lay this bomb down. But 40 seconds left. Grad's going to have to be the one to kind of open things up here with a kill.
Yeah, you have to get kills first. You can't just stick for a plant right here. He's going to try for it, but I don't like the call. There's a lot of time on the clock. You have no information on where you can even set up this post plant. Nolson gets 1 through mid-map. That's decent to start, but this is the key one right here. This 1v2. It's not going to work out. Yeah, it's just you have to set yourself up with some sort of a position to work with off the post plant before you can really call for a plant for a 2v4 like that. And you could respect the idea of trying to dwindle the clock to low numbers, but it never really felt like with Nolson still sniping that there was going to be a problem for Ultra EU on that retake.
Yeah. If you find Wee Man, maybe there's a chance, but not the case. And now Ultra starting to take control here in the search and destroy. We talked about the Invincibles, this really being their highlight game mode when it comes down to being able to take one of the 3. This is typically the game mode that they're winning, but at the moment, Furious has just been too difficult here. 8 and 3, great stuff. Beans right behind him, 5 and 3 as well. Multiple players getting involved, and they haven't got enough involvement on the other side. Nades over the top. Grad has to know the push is coming through, but he can't find one, and that's going to hurt, and that's going to open up the site completely.
And just for a 1-for-1 relatability, as Ultra Academy EU looks like they're going to cruise through this round, for Invincibles trying to set up the same hit over towards B, not throwing nades over the top because you're trying to quote-unquote fake the hit through mid or towards A with that opening stun, it's just not enough. And for Ultra EU, they just overwhelm with nades. Grad has nowhere to go. The speed is what gives them the advantage to get up top to patio. And even though the numbers get tight, it's still just that's what we're talking about. Like, these post-plant positions are so difficult to deal with, even if the numbers start to get down towards even. So I just love that call from Ultra EU. Don't get cute with it. Just go with speed. Go with tempo. Trust that your teammates are going to land. And it allows not only a first blood, but a quick plant and also a very convincing post-plant setup.
And I think you hit on it there at the end. Like it's the team nades, right? Like, that's what we missed when we saw the Invincibles kind of go for that B push. It was just, just all about winning the gunfights, and they weren't necessarily doing it together. It's not like one player sliding out and one right behind him. It was kind of coming a little too separate. But with the nade over the top, makes it a little easier. And now Invincibles have to combine for what's going to have to be 4 rounds in a row against a very strong Ultra Academy EU squad at the moment. That nade just going to fall short. Shots coming through, though, for Furious. He's been able to find a flank angle into the back. Nile will get the trade, but now it's about Wee Man trying to also figure out where Nolson's going to be, as he's also in the back of church.
Yeah, he sees a shoulder, and that's everything, because if Nolson wins that 1v1, all of a sudden B becomes an option for you as you're scrambling to get some ground to work with the Team Invincibles perspective, but not going to happen. Wee Man able to catch the shoulder, know the gunfight's coming, and no problem after that. So now 2v3. Beans. Yeah. Good tags on Denial, forces him off. Now the flank from Steve-O. That will work. It's all down to Nile. 1v3 situation, has to force gunfights, not going to work out for him. And it really is just, there was a very clear-cut difference in this whole search and destroy, it felt like, for Ultra EU. Outside of the initial offenses that we were trading and then the one defense that Team Invincibles were able to put together, it just felt like the playbook not only was deeper, it was also just more understood as far as what the conditions are that need to be met before you can commit to a play, where that felt a little bit absent from Team Invincibles, at least just based on a couple of rounds in particular.
Yeah, I think so, without a doubt. I mean, like, to me, it just comes back to just being a little bit too reliant on hoping that you win gunfights to kind of open up some of your offensive rounds, which is really difficult to rely on, consistently on a map like Tuscan too, just with the way, like, there's a lot of just really good defensive kind of positions that are set up across the map, either at the A site or the B site. So if you're not nading, stunning them out, and making a double push happen or making a chow happen after they're weak, it becomes really difficult to kind of break it down. So very well done here. Ultra Academy EU 6-2 victory. And hey, we said said, like, this is, one of the critical maps that Invincibles had to win, for the simple fact that we're heading over to another Gavutsu. But I mean, before that, you have to kind of give Furious his flowers here. 10 and 4,
for sure, dude.
Huge part of making sure that he was able to kind of win a lot of those rounds, really starting with the first one with that 1v2 to kind of kick everything off.
Yeah, dude, Furious has, I mean, really since the middle of last year in Cold War, he's become a really prevalent piece of the European community. And off of the back end of, not only was the Search and Destroy always really solid, but it feels like this year has mostly been the conversation point of what he's been able to do kind of in Respawn. Now, it's odd to say that because the statistics on the season so far for Season 4 here in Challengers Elite have not been great for Furious, but it feels like when he's at his normal kind of expected form, he makes any team better. That was the case 100% throughout Cold War last year, and also I think a main staple of the success that he and his teammates were able to find at the beginning of this year. So maybe some of the kind of struggles that we've seen from Ultra EU in this season have largely been because Furious just has not necessarily been playing to the level that we expect, but now that he's there, he's absolutely in the conversation for one of the more dominating players in European Challengers. We'll take a small break, and hopefully for that, Team Invincibles can find a way to try to bounce back and set up a bit of a reverse sweep narrative, same way that the Wobabobs were able to do in the last set. We'll find out when we come back after this. Welcome back, everybody. A comfortable start so far for Ultra EU in a gridlocked matchup between two squads that happen to be 2 and 3 in the group standings. This one a big difference maker for either of these two teams to try to make a push to the top 4 and get a bid in towards playoffs for Season 4. I'm Shift, that's Visions, and I got the bad news bears, I think was what we could relabel ourselves as, because it's not just the fact that Ultra EU are up 2-0 here, Austin, but it's the fact that we're going back to Gavudu, where they looked untouched for the large majority of the rotations we saw in Hardpoint for map 1.
Yeah, not where I'd want to be if I was the Invincibles, to say the least, coming in towards a map number 3 here. I mean, we looked at a lot of what happened to map number 1, and it's just a lot of the control, right? Like, you have so many ARs kind of just built into this roster, and, you know, Beans is kind of taking it upon himself to say, listen, I'll play flex when I have to if we want to throw some Bocage HPs in there, but we're going to be very lethal when it comes to the bigger maps, and we saw that take place on the map number 1, where they probably could have closed it out a little bit earlier, but kind of gave up P5, right? Made the correct call, make sure they're not risking anything, always playing for the most successful play, and it allows them to close it out there on P1. So we'll see if they can continue to do the same thing coming in towards this map number 3, but if you're the Invincibles, we got to see the AR show up here, Alan. They got to come out here, they got to start frying, they got to match the pressure, or else this one could be done in 3.
Yeah, I think as well, outside of the fact that you need to be able to battle in these long-range gunfights a bit more prevalently, you also need, if your team Invincibles, a chance to get these SMGs into the zones. You cannot just rely on playing this whole map at arm's reach. Opening stuns, nades, start to connect. Stevo, the first SMG forward, and, well, Nile is good for the response initially. Furious looking to follow up, try to capitalize on the trade. Done very nicely, but the rest of Invincibles from the low ground were able to fight back, and the first tick of progress looking good.
Yeah, this is a great opening break here for yourself. The Invincibles might be able to come away with 2 ticks of progress before Ultra can move back through, and Rafi's control. This is what we needed to see, right? Get control of the power positions, try to slay out, make sure you're stopping Ultra from getting set up. But Stevo in the back will be denied an opportunity and finding that 2-piece, but it is still a chance for Ultra to move in and stop this final tick of progress. A lot of this kind of coming down to Beans, and they can still kind of search for players, but Beans up top just blows them away with a pistol, and now a chance to break open the zone.
That might be this little ladder pistol kills like that may be one of the craziest things to be kind of categorized as Vanguard. Like, there have been some weird things that we've seen in the course of previous COD titles, but the pistol blowaway kills on ladders like that, I think, takes the cake for this year. And now all of a sudden, Ultra EU turned that into a convincing setup around A, and even more so through A. Nolson does well to get a double. That will allow him to get onto B and stop the clock, but even if that's the case, Team Invincibles need to get a spawn it. They're just not really able to do too much of anything right now.
Yeah, and Nolson, I mean, he's trying to buy time for his teammates to get to him, but, I mean, this is still looking a little difficult. However, maybe there's a chance for a touch at B. We will get Rafi on the point here to stop the clock, but Stevo will deal with Nolson in the back, and now it's all about collapsing on Rafi, who's just going to try to stay alive as long as possible. If you could somehow scrape a tick, that'd be great, but not going to happen. We men will get there. Now the focus turns back over to A.
And interestingly enough, for the Invincibles, there was a moment in there where all 3 remaining members didn't really know what they wanted to do. There was a conversation that looked like it was happening, like, do I push through green? Do we just stack for this last tick at A? It felt a little labored, and the ability to get the extra 60 seconds, sure, that's there, but you once again, because of that hesitation, have no map to work with. You have no presence in through green. You don't even have any kind of fight back potential over towards ring, and in a 10v14, with a minute to play with, that's not good news. You need to have some ground to at least get yourself over and get a look at B. At the moment, it would have to be individual gunfights that just get won, and you just don't feel good about that considering the positions that Ultra Academy find themselves in.
I mean, yeah, just like look how early the engagements are being forced out here. And if you don't win this battle right here inside of Circle, they very well should be the round for Ultra. You have to get control of this first, and they do have members now here. Let's see if they can win out the battles. Grad finds 2. That's what you needed. You needed the sub-player to make something happen inside of those small little areas. But now the ARs need to follow through with some big kills. Green control looking good for Ultra. They're just going to simply set up and watch the cross. And now we're down to 20 seconds left.
You have to clear this mid-cut if you're Invincibles, and it just feels like it's just all of it's focused on the front. So again, you're able to get into a spot to where you almost got to be, but it's just the defensive power positions that rule Gavudu It never really felt like they were ever fully challenged or at least reclaimed from Invincibles' offense. Yeah, there were some moments where they were able to fight back, get a couple of the trades here or there, but as soon as they would win those engagements, they just gave the space right back up again, it felt like. So, I don't know, it just feels like a bit of inconsistency as far as what the team focus is to make sure that you're kind of providing extra effort that the defense has to deal with off of spawn. Because at the moment, Ultra EU's coming off of spawn, and they're not being pressed. So, good stuff from Ultra EU to kind of make sure you have the awareness to reclaim those positions. But on the opposite side for Team Invincibles, you need to start doing better in those positions in particular.
Most certainly do. But now, Ultra Academy EU, chance to be able to make something happen on their offense as well. Nile needed to get involved, and well, we kicked off with Nile there off the rip defensively, and he was 2-10. That's a better start here as he's able to find 3 in a row. So now Nile starting to come alive a little bit. AR is getting very involved. It's been 6 consecutive kills. And finally, Furious is able to get one on the board here for Ultra, but this is exactly the start you wanted to see here if you're the Invincibles and you want to stay in this series.
You got to be thinking streaks if you're Nile right here, by the way.
Certainly.
And, well, now Rafi on the opposite side, he's actually just 1 away. So he lines up a triple, backside of jungle pathway. Nile chasing down kills in the offensive spawn is being wrapped on and denied. So we go back over to Rafi. Can he find kill number 7 for a glide bomb? You would assume he would be good for one here. Wee Man pushes him off the angle, though, and now all of a sudden, long-range shots to Stevo's where he's going to have to find it, and no problem. Glide bomb earned at a 10-life lead, and Ultra EU have not even touched the A-zone yet.
I don't think they've gotten the look at it, sniff it, Alan. It's just not available to them whatsoever. The break-off has obviously hurt them too much. I mean, this is 25-13. Only 5 lives have been lost here for the Invincibles, which is just absurd to say out loud.
Yeah, for real.
Well, we talked about the presence of having strong ARs here for Ultra Academy EU, and it's a lot of individuals that step up here for the Invincibles to have a flawless control round. And probably one of the faster ones that we have seen when it comes down to Gavutu control. That is a heck of a way to respond.
And you said it in that whole spiel right there, it was right off the break-off. The nades that came through plus the AR control through mid allowed an opportunity for ring control, top ship control, and then once you get the second wave of kills, you get into their spawn. That's the recipe of absolute defensive disaster when you're looking at that from Ultra EU's perspective. So really good stuff from Team Invincibles. But now I want to see them get that same kind of control, or at least focus, from the offensive side here, the attacking side. You've got a 3-tick advantage. You can get a little greedy, a little risky here because of that natural tick progression you've already found off of your first attack, but I would love to see them kind of be able to claim some mid-ground. And they're calling, yeah, the glide's down early. They're looking to go to B off the rip.
All right, so they want to make something happen. This is a big investment offensively before getting A. Now, they will be able to kind of pressure both zones at the same time, but this is more about trying to draw Ultra members over, maybe lock in a round 5 offense. But Grad, how about it? The shots over the top of the tank, able to click onto the head of Stevo, and that actually might be a tick of progress. So the glide overall looking actually decent for them to at least get 1 tick, and they're still on the zone.
And the nades for Ultra EU's defense actually do not connect inside of the boat whatsoever. Nolson now here to assist. Grad needs to chase down this kill into Beans. Will be able to. Next one up, Wee Man reveals that he's on the play. Good read from Grad, but the trade comes out from Stevo. So the second tick of progress will be denied for now, and the question starts to turn to what can the Invincibles do over at the A zone.
As long as you can get A here, you set yourself up for what could be a round 5 defense.
Should be.
First tick looks like it will be locked in. Furious, though, will be able to at least come away with 1. Stevo is now in the back of the spawn, so he can kind of continuously spawn trap Nile here, or pick apart Nolson right through mid. And now he switches to the sub, but Nile will wait patiently, finds the kill. Second tick, ready to come in. Beans, I think, might have just got on there in time, but there it is. Now it's locked in, and A is certainly almost captured. Wee Man up top, trying to be the last line of defense. But now he'll also get taken down, and it's up to Stevo to make something magical happen.
And I love this so much more for Team Invincibles. Look at number 2 and number 4 in the minimap. They're already playing through the middle. So if Ultra Academy EU want to challenge green, they may get caught in a bit of an island. If they want to challenge up towards top ring, they could get caught on an island. So this just gives you so much opportunity when you've got a player that can really advance in towards the middle of the map. Great from Nolson, 2 in a row for him. And as Invincibles are looking at a pretty healthy life lead, they want to make sure that any setup is convincing. They're chasing down kills through the middle and over towards beachfront. And as Grad is able to sneak on the backside of where Nolson was previously positioned, the opportunity to try to pinch this defense on the B zone immediately becomes available.
Yeah, Beans just wasn't really there in time, wasn't ready for Grad to already be back on top of him, and He is losing out on his members, every single one, in fact, so this is just a matter of how many kills can Grad come away with and maybe try to chip away at the lives overall.
Well
and so far, it's been great. Another force spree coming through for Grad. Now he gets to stop the clock. He still doesn't have assistance, so they will be able to get him off at the time, but he's able to at least eliminate quite a few lives.
Oh, how does Furious get that kill? It may seem marginal because it's traded, but it's more important than I think is initially anticipated, just due to the fact that that turns it from what would be a 9v5 to an 8v5, just like that. So now Beans playing forward, waiting for his regen before he takes any further steps. And at 40 seconds of the clock, Team Invincibles are setting up to hit this once again through the middle of the map. I like the call. Just comes down to can they find the kills, because these two defenders are in great spots to deal with it.
Man in the back, Beans inside of circle.
Oh, what a win.
And you got Furious with a massive one there onto Nolson. Make sure the spawn is secured and only limit the Invincibles down to 1 tick. That is really your only objective from here on out. 20 seconds remaining. Steve-O still able to find kills in and around this circle area, through the beach side, through the top. It doesn't matter. Steve-O going on 3, looking for the 4th. Well, only 2 lives remaining here. This is maybe still winnable for the Invincibles. Wee-Man's going to have to go massive on the point. One inside, right on top of him, waiting for the challenge. Wee-Man's able to come up with one. Wee-Man! Oh, Nolson! He 180s him, and now it's up to Furious for a 1 versus 1, and Furious takes it! Oh my goodness! What a clutch play from Ultra Academy!
They couldn't find Wee-Man. He was just sitting inside boat with 20 HP. And then at the exact right moment, as Team Invincibles were looking to find the kill on him, he sneaks out, gets a bit of regen, avoids the help, and turns it into a huge kill on top of the zone. Oh boy. Missed chance to be sure. But at least for Team Invincibles, the bit of good news was you're up by more ticks than are possible for Ultra EU to get here. You just have to win the defense. That's the only thing between you and a round 5 defensive advantage.
Let's see if Steve-O can try to stay alive up top here. All of his teammates are coming off spawn. And, well, he's going to end up going down. Grad's going to push him out. Nolson now wants to keep the pressure going, pushing right into the Ultra spawn. Beans wins it. Nice patient play there from Beans. Finds 2. Furious going to try to cross, but Rafi's going to have that covered. So B, at least, likely not going to be the target here for Ultra Academy, but they do clear a lot of the space here through the middle of the map, and now they can start looking over to A.
Yeah, this is, oh boy, looking really solid for Team Invincibles once again in the same situations that we were kind of talking about from the last defense. It's through the middle of the map, man.
Wow.
This is just, we need to see it in round 1, and the fact that they're able to kind of collect themselves and do a really nice job through 2, 3, and 4 to just lock down these mid-tank positions, give yourself a chance to try to surround, get these free flanks off. It's just been such good understanding from Team Invincibles. But it's not done yet. 21 plays 20. Nolson in a bit of trouble. Good for the opener, but not the second. 12 seconds on the clock. Furious on 5. He would need to get a glide bomb here while also trying to get this extra 60 seconds if Ultra Academy were to want to put this away right here.
Well, Furious is at least able to find that first one. Now just 1 off the glide bomb. But you can't leave the zone if you want to make something happen on offense. But Furious gets bad timing from the side. Grad comes up the ladder. Stops the spree. Stops the glide bomb. Clears off the point. Last one remaining. Not going to be able to stay alive with Team Invincibles. They have not even let, I think, a tick of progress go over so far here on defensive side, which is insane when we talk about Gabutu and insane when we talk about Toronto Ultra Academy EU.
Yeah, it's hard to put a finger on what's going wrong here for Ultra EU, outside of the fact that they really haven't gotten Steve-O into any zone yet, by the way. He just has not been able to get into A. And I think it's not just the 19 and 26 that stands out, but you look at the 10 and 21 from Wee-Man in a spot where he's trying to support Steve-O forward. Okay, well, there's the first blood, and wouldn't you know it, all of a sudden that gets Steve-O in a position to try to work a little bit further forward. But once again, Rafi and Nile in these positions over through mid have just been untouched, largely speaking, and that once again is the case as the opening break-off favors the defense heavily.
Well, I think it's so interesting because even last week when we were talking about this, remember when Steve-O was like 20 and 5 or something like this, and it's because the ARs are like getting them to those spots, and when it doesn't happen, I mean, you just don't really have a whole lot of effective plays, so it's definitely tough. And now Ultra, I mean, this is looking like the last 2 offensive rounds where they can't even really get to the point. They're going to try to make a desperate play right through mid, kind of push out through the front of tower. This might give them a chance to finally touch the zone for the first
gotta
time
get
here
on.
in round 5, but they just can't stay alive when they get close to it, Alan.
I just don't understand why Steve-O even offers him a chance to get traded in mid-map. Just get on, use your SMG to deny any re-entries. It seems to be a lack of trust that the middle of the map is being watched avidly enough by ARs, is kind of off that instance in particular. Or maybe there was a call-up that had one player closer than he actually was. Regardless, Ultra EU finally able to get some work done on the offense. Good trade on the Grad as well. And that should lead to a really solid look at a third take of progress. Unless Niall has something to say about it, which as he gets taken down, we will get our answers. So 16 plays 16, a minute 25 on the clock as Ultra EU look to take this 3-0 by way of a B capture.
15 lives for each side. Steve-O will get caught on that push up to circle to try to find Nolson, and now that's going to enable Nolson to push all the way up to the beach side and start to funnel Toronto right through midship. And Niall's like, come to me, I'm ready. He's able to find one more. Raffi with a quick trade. 33 kills now for Raffi. He was a huge part of turning up there in that second round, but unfortunate team nade there for Grad. We'll take out Nolson, but he's at least able to take his spot, and now we're down to about 50 seconds here where Ultra Academy are struggling to break out of their spawn.
Yeah, that's a huge 1v1 win for Raffi. It keeps the door shut on any potential pinch plays. And now with the clock being a bit of an issue for Ultra EU, they essentially have to get something done from the ring position. Nolson not able to finish off the first kill. He does get traded out, so there is a chance to get a setup pretty comfortably here for Ultra EU. But you need to get some nades on point. And honestly, you also need to get Steve-O into a position where he can cut off these mid crosses, because this is a very difficult push through. But the first nade does land. Beans follows up with a mid cut.
Okay.
Now Steve-O onto the zone, and this works out nicely as a stun will come over, and that will actually keep the mid completely controlled.
Well, this is looking like whole new territory here for Ultra Academy EU. They've never really been able to stay alive around this zone, and Raffi continues to reign supreme from above. But what can Furious and Beans do? 14 seconds on the clock. Furious is going to drop. Beans is going to have to make a play, and Raffi again able to shut the door in their faces, looking as good as ever, as it is going to be the Invincibles that hold on and force us to a map number 4. Unbelievable, coming through on some incredible offensive rounds.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it feels weird to say because that opening round was the sloppiest one from Team Invincible's perspective, but their ability in 2, 3, 4, and then 5 again to just dominate the middle of the map was the key for both sides, largely speaking. It was just that much better from Invincibles on the defensive side of the map. I mean, the fact that you had mentioned it on the first offense and then the second for Ultra EU, for them to find no ticks of progress, that just goes to show that off the break, Team Invincibles defensively know exactly where they need to be positioned, and then when they have advantages, how to really take them. And even on that last offensive chance, I think you look at this and say this should have been a 3-1 from Team Invincible's point of view, and that was a 4v2 or so at the very end towards B that they just had too difficult of a time getting Wee Man out of the zone. But I will say it's a bit surprising to see the lack of efficiency from Ultra getting Steve-O into good positions really at all on their offensive sides.
Yeah, just such a change up. I mean, like I was touching on it in round 5, where it's just like you look at this map last week, I can't remember who they played it against, but it was just so night and day with the way that, you know, the subs just could not really get up close and personal, and you could see it. It's obviously very difficult when you don't have the rest of the ARs kind of firing behind you. And I mean, Furious put on, you know, a heck of a performance, you know, slayed out, almost matched what Raffi was doing. But we just didn't get the same there from Wee Man, unfortunately. Beans having a couple moments here and there. And obviously we just touched on Steve-O, you know, not being able to kind of utilize his sub close range and not get to those important positions that the sub needs to get to. So incredible stuff, man, for the Invincibles. They get it done. Raffi has just one hell of a performance as well to push us there. And also Niall, we touched on him right after round 1. He was like 2-10. He turned up as well. And that was also kind of one of the critical factors.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go immediately after that if you didn't touch on it. So I'm glad that you did. And that really is key, especially considering the fact that defensively it came to life. Like 17 of his 25 kills came on the defensive side of the map. So the fact that he put together that really slow first offense, but then we're able to, like we mentioned, just get an AR up, watch mid-map, and then put himself onto a couple of good high streaks. I mean, he capped off at 4, but I mean, he was on a couple of different multi-kill lives there on both of the defenses we saw in round 2 and round 4. So really good stuff from him to get back into the mix and give his team a chance on the defensive side of the control. So with that, we get to a 2-1 count, and now we start to lean over towards a Bakaj hardpoint, which, if history were to tell us much of anything, you would favor Ultra EU on this map only if slightly, due to the fact that Invincibles, we talked about it, their wins have been very big, their losses have been very narrow. This is a map that they have not been able to win as of yet. They're 0-3 on it, having played Rocker, Katana, and the Awoba Bobs in their first week matchups. So this has got to be do or die, essentially, for Invincibles in certain ways, because not only do you have this for the Hardpoint, you also would have it for the Search and Destroy, where we've seen very limited amounts of them playing on Bacage Search as well. So as far as the reverse sweep is concerned, you know, it doesn't look very likely just based on statistics, but again, the sample size is low. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, coming in with a little bit of practice, maybe kind of going through the cup there as well, might have been able to make some of these maps a little bit more manageable when it comes down to maybe not being your best ones, but a chance to be able to go into a Bocage, Hardpoint, and potentially take it by storm. I mean, come out the way you just did on the Gavutsu. I didn't think they were going to be able to match the air pressure, I'll be honest. So now that you can kind of utilize some more of your subs, this could be your chance to get us to a game number 5. And as much as they didn't really show up too much in the Search and Destroy, they could still potentially get it done going into a Bocage S&D. And you kind of have to just re-hit and re-emphasize just how important this matchup is for anyone that is just tuning in. Both teams 2-3. This one really determines a lot for holding the head-to-head, trying to get into playoffs. Remember, only top 4 make it through. So every single match, extremely important. And the Invincibles, well, they know what's on the line. We've already kind of went through the whole pro points and how important it would be to get a lot more of those. And, well, it starts with this series here. If you can win this Bocage Hardpoint, all of a sudden it becomes a little bit more manageable going into S&D here, Alan.
Interestingly enough, other matches that are going on right now, we haven't really talked a ton about Katana Gaming, who is also, by the way, at 2-3. They are currently up 2-0 versus Team War. So now all of a sudden, even for a second, we were, I think both of us, at least for me, I think we were looking at the winner of this matchup would have the best chance to take over somebody in that 4th place position and possibly make playoffs. And that would be like a 5th versus 4th situation. But with Katana possibly winning their 3rd series here, we could be looking at a multi-team tiebreaker situation once again, because, oh boy. I mean, that'd be par for the course, to be fair. I mean, it should be expected, but that is just in a very different fashion than we normally expect, because typically it's like everyone's sitting at like, there's one team that's undefeated, one team that hasn't lost or haven't won yet, and everyone else is like 2-2, 2-3, 3-2 by the end of the 2nd week. But we're seeing some major comebacks in this 2nd week of games for teams like Katana and maybe even Invincibles, pending they can get it through not just this map, but also map number 5. We'll see. Jump on into it. Bacage Hardpoint on our screens. And it's going to be Ultra EU with the opening set nade for a double.
Yeah, Steve-O. Nice little double nade there. And now that's going to give him a little room to work with. And, well, the rest of Ultras, they're already going to move right through the Riverside. Are going to lose Beans on the push, and Wee Man can't find any trades. Raffi already picking up where he left off, but Steve-O trying to surge forward. Almost snaps on Grad for the 2-piece. Not going to fully come in. And it's Grad kicking it off with 4, already making a conversation for some early streaks.
Yeah, this has just been great stuff from Team Invincibles after the opening set nade for you to kind of still keep the Hardpoint neutral, and then also have Raffi possibly one off the glide bomb on his first life. He needs another weapon. It's going to have to be a pistol. He's only got 4 shots at the automaton. Just holding corners, will be stunned up. Gets us a glimpse of Furious. Now the red dot chase is on. Oh boy. Oh boy. Gets an automaton off the ground though and turns that into a chance for the glide. Okay. Full strength, and now you just play with your food a little bit as Raffi's just untouchable.
Raffi, he wants this to go to a game 5. There it is, 9 in a row to kick off the Bocage Hardpoint with the AR in hand. And that is just going to give so much relief over to the Invincibles to set up freely and start to lock in a lot of this initial time. 34 points over to them so far. Ultra Academy, though, a chance and a window through the back. Steve-O's been able to find it. Can he take advantage of it? Turns and finds an easy kill onto Nile. Next one to shut down would be Raffi, who's going to be pinching through the side, but there's no assistance here for Steve-O, and that will be an easy cleanup there for Raffi yet again.
Yeah, it's not just Raffi who's able to make sure that the back stays safe, but it's also Grad from the front to make sure none of the Ultra Academy members could get there to help out Steve-O. So, once again, it's just good team play coming out of Team Invincibles, and a chance to really blow the lid off this Bocage early with what has been a flawless start for them. So for Ultra Academy EU, what can you put together setup-wise here at Grandma's on P3? So far, the setup looks really tight, really solid, but Steve-O's already pushed off a very convincing angle. And that now creates a bit of doubt as far as where Invincibles are trying to hit from. Beans checking the back. Well done. Gets the double. Takes the third. Grand shutdown. And a little extra as Steve-O's able to confirm the team wipe.
Yeah, how about it? Beans 1 and 6 and then just finds that incredible spree. 3 in a row there inside of Grand. He's going to net Ultra Academy EU a lot of time. And Steve-O off screen has now been able to put together a bit of a spree himself. 6 in a row. 1 off the glide bomb. Just needs to try to play his life. We'll be able to reposition here, reinforce the point. It's multiple sprees across the board, but it is a big shutdown. Niall will deny the first glide. Now it's at the Beans to try to see if he can lock in his.
What an unbelievable turnaround. Beans just forcing this game back to even. Tries to predict the tight corner, but no one was there. And the threat of a second streak also now off the table as Team Invincibles on the exit from 3 to 4 looking really good, but the spawns still favor Ultra Academy EU, and off that respawn, it turns into 3 straight kills. That will lock down the initial time here at Barn. Nolson from the side door, though. Wait a second. He doesn't see the player in the corner, but it may not make much of a difference. The trade's decent, but not good enough to influence the hard point as of yet.
Oh, good nade there from Grad. Gonna get some info up top. And now a chance to push to the side. Need the trade, and there it is. Grad's able to find the first one. Backs up. I like it. Tried to take the top positioning, but Weeman with the aggressive challenge will make sure he doesn't have any room to work with. And now a little bit of a spread here for Ultra. Working right through mid is going to be Steve-O, kind of pressuring all of the spawners coming up for the Invincibles. But it is a 20-point differential. Ultra just hanging on to it by a thread. We'll see if they can continue to make something happen for scrap time. Weeman on 5, Weeman on 6. And now it's multiple players all catching fire here on Ultra Academy EU.
And off of this timing, the clean wipe leads to a free rotation back to the 5th hard point. Glide bomb earned. Weeman nearly doubles up for another. But the job has been done. And all of a sudden, what looked to be a solid start for Team Invincibles has immediately been counteracted, if not bested, by Ultra EU. First glide bomb comes down, immediately responded to by Weeman, and once more, it's another team wipe in the mix as Ultra EU get over the 100-point mark.
Oh, this is always a really scary spot. When you spawn back 10 coming in from this hill, it is just so difficult to kind of find everything you need to. There's so many spots you can kind of hide in, get yourself into little corners. And, well, they will be able to push through the top, but Weeman gets there in the nick of time, and that's just going to be, again, more time over to Ultra Academy EU, where they're turning this P5 hill into a money hill. And with that kill onto Nolson, I think you have to start to look up the setup for P1 coming through for the Invincibles, and Steve-O is already contesting it here.
It's just, you hate seeing all of this free time go the way of Ultra EU on the scrap of 5 when you know for a fact that you're going to have essentially 60 seconds to work for potential favored setups towards P2 with this opening courtyard hardpoint goes back to us. And it just feels like at the moment, Invincible's a little bit out of touch with the timings, and I think just off the exits, not really being able to put a lot of pressure on Ultra EU. But now a chance, as you'd mentioned, from the favored side. Can you make a mess of this first hard point and maybe get the best of a 60-second or so hold on P2 when we eventually get there?
Yeah, you're going to have a strong P2. Do not want to fall too far down when we talk about Bokash hardpoint, but Steve-O up close still good to maintain control for Toronto Ultra EU on P1. Furious from the back will be able to sniff out Grad, and that's really going to shut down the rotation. And while that happens, I mean, they conceded a lot of that P1 time. But it is Raffy for 2, now for a 3rd. Furious going to have to try to hold his life, but the squad spawn's still going to be good here for Ultra in the back.
They will give a bit of barn pressure up. Furious trying to negate that, but there's just too many members to deal with. Steve will also try to make sure the back stays safe. That will work out well. But 150 playing up against 81. Invincible still trying to fight for spawns as they open up the Fields Hill in their name. And a lot of question, I would say, as far as where exactly are Ultra EU coming from. So far, it's just traded back and forth very evenly, but you still have to keep in mind that with the proximal spawns for Ultra EU, the advantage tilts their favor. Steve-O from the back trying to set up a pinch, denied. And Nolson's done well to keep his life for as long as he had. That's the first 30 seconds pretty much done and dusted.
Not gonna lie, that was a nasty spot there for Furious to take the player out of the tank, and that's gonna result for 2, and all this time is just too much to give over. The Invincibles, they have to contest some of it. That's a good nade to be able to at least take Weeman off of the hardpoint time. They're gonna try to flood through the front, but holding strong is gonna be Beans from the top of that tank. Now Furious, does lose some bad timing onto 1, but might be able to pinch it. Finds first one onto Grind, second one onto Niall, and that is just a ridiculous play to secure the scrap time here for Ultra Academy.
who already, by the way, have players looking to force a rotation. Furious not done on the exit, gets the double, but still one short of another glide bomb being earned. So for Team Invincibles, I will say, as much as you did not get much, if at really any time at all on P2, at least you stopped Ultra Academy EU from running away, so you keep yourself in this game. But now you have to put together the most convincing hold we've seen on P3, at least in this matchup so far. And Steve-O is just being an absolute nuisance in the back. That's going to flip the spawns around again. Everyone knows where Grad is, so he should be traded out here no problem, and eventually will be as the break is confirmed for Ultra EU.
Wow. Ultra Academy EU looking really good here on map number 4. 20 seconds left on this point. Steve-O going to be watching from above, waiting patiently, but Nile will be able to take him out for the gunfight. And now Furious will try to make a big individual play, but you need to kind of wait for your teammates here for a second if you're Ultra. Slay out of your spawn, and so far so good. Weeman and Beans both able to deliver. Now there's a couple seconds left, and Weeman's trying to make some early moves for that rotation into New. And how about it? Three straight kills for Weeman.
If that doesn't just tell you how the tide of this map has gone, I don't know what would. But the thing about it is, again, even though it's not a great quote-unquote hardpoint for Invincibles, it's not a bad one. So you've got a chance here on a more favorable hill to get this back to level. And with how the trends have kind of gone, Team Invincibles have done well to keep contesting Ultra EU. The thing about it is it can't just be contesting. You've got to start putting together hill after hill. You have to put together good moments at least. And it's another instance where Ultra EU clean in the feed, a full team wipe plus extra, and now you start zoning away the Invincibles' second hit.
Well, a bit of split spawns coming in the back here to at least contest the scrap time. And Olsen does get in there for the remaining 10 seconds or so, but Ultra happy to give that up to make sure that they have the fast track to New at P5. And this is where things got out of hand last time through the first rotation. It was just a constant spawn trap for the Invincibles in the back of tin. That can't happen this time around. Steve-O will reveal his position, but needs to kind of lock down the riverside. However, this is a good chance now for the Invincibles to try to flood through, but it's being shut down by Weeman.
It's just... this team's ability to wreck squads with this AR setup is as disgusting as you could ever possibly want. It's just Beans and Weeman so good individually, let alone apparently collectively. Furious, one of the more flexible players in Europe, could do it all. It's just, man, small moments that would, like, right there, it's a 2v4 situation. It's Beans and Weeman to lock things down, to keep Invincibles out of the hard point for an extended period of time. Eventually you feel like turns the win condition, but now Invincibles from the proximal spawns once again putting together a fight for scrap, but just as soon as they start to turn their attention to the rotation, it's Ultra Academy EU who try to foil it.
Yep. And they know they have to keep Ultra just off almost every single second from here on out. 215 to 170. Rafi is going to be trying to make some early moves here from the top of barn to watch over his teammates, but he's losing them as fast as they're spawning up. And now he has to move in for the point, trying to find the shots out of Steve-O. Able to find it, reads onto Weeman, but Weeman just wins the battle. Too good mechanically. And now Ultra Academy, favorite side of the map. They have P1 time coming in, and they're setting themselves up here for the series win.
Looking pretty solid for it, especially with the opening kills. It's going to allow Steve-O a chance just to kind of do whatever he wants. It's the green light special for Steve-O. Just run around, brother. Do what you like to do. Beans with an SMG in hand now, also trying to help out from the front. Nolson keeps the contest alive, but it's Furious on 5, Weeman on 5, and the hopes of Invincibles coming back into this game essentially squandered. Just so much help, and Ultra EU will take the dub here on Bakaj Hardpoint, a 3-1 in the series. They'll be the first team out of the mix of teams that are 2-3 in the group standings to get to an even 3-3 win-loss count. And with the potential upset here with Katana still up 2-0 versus Team War, who knows? That might be enough to get you right inserted into the top 4 position.
Yeah, absolutely. But wow. I mean, that is just incredible stuff for Ultra EU to kind of come through here for us, Alan. Off the back end of losing their first series, right, versus Rocker, this is a really must-need win, and they're able to deliver and make sure that they lock it in.
Love it. It's just one of those things that, you come off of a Cup 12 win, you feel like you could beat anybody at that point, especially inside of your own region. So the fact that you're able to bounce back, like you mentioned, kind of in a rubber match, so to say, is really great news. Other updates as far as things that have also happened, just for what it's worth, Rocker Academy did take a 3-0 versus Dizzy's Rascals. Team War did just take the control win versus Katana Gaming, so that's going to be an extended series. And then the other matchup that's currently going on right now, Awoba Bobs is up 2-1 over AYM, who did just take the Berlin control. So it would have to be a reverse sweep for AYM, which would also make things very interesting as far as the potential tiebreaker considerations would go, because Team Invincibles, who just lost, they beat AYM. So who knows? It's just, I know that I can already feel it. I know Brody's still casting on the second stream, but I can already feel his mind working out all the tiebreaker situations as we look forward to our last day, Austin.
No, I'm sure. Absolutely right. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. It just always feels like when we get to week 2, there's just going to be tiebreakers. And that's why, you never know which head-to-heads are really going to factor in, which one's going to matter. So it's always very fun. It's always very special. And that's why we love week 2 of Challengers. But we do have the schedule for you guys that's also coming up, because as much as we're finished with Europe, Alan, we still have a whole nother region to take a look at here for day number 1 in week 2.
Yeah, and if you thought that the matches were leading to some interesting storylines in Europe, hold on to your horses, because it's kind of do or die time for 2 teams at the bottom of the group standings for North America. But of course, there's been roster changes all over the place with all the CDL rumors and moves that have kind of been going on. So there's so many new players that we're going to see trying to essentially charge up, if not establish their teams as potential favorites in NA. And the biggest thing about it is, with that current champs format, the only team that's currently comfortable is Ultra Academy NA. So we need to try to find another favorite, and we very well may have an opportunity to do that with the 2 matches that we have coming up at the 6:30 p.m. Eastern mark. That is just over an hour. You're not going to want to miss it. I mean, it is just, like you mentioned, the second week when we start to get through the end of the group stage, it's do or die time, especially in our final season, Austin. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, definitely going to be a fun one here for us. Can't wait to jump into North America, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a blast. Make sure you guys stick around for it. It'll be coming up here very, very shortly, but we'll see exactly how it all comes together, Alan. It's going to be a fun one.
It's going to be a great one. Tiebreakers galore is what seems to be the pending storyline in Europe, as the Awabababs did a pretty darn job against Team War to try to keep it close, but all of a sudden, new opponents start to make their way up in towards the group standings. We'll have to see how things unfold, but first, North America later tonight. We'll see you then.